Chapter 976. Die, brat. You dared to touch my friend and angered me. So, you'll be the one to die. Lin Xian's voice was cold. He held the Lone Star sword tightly and slashed out fearlessly. Boom. A terrifying collision sound was heard as the entire space exploded. The blood-red spear light and sharp sword chi were everywhere in the void as if the world was about to be destroyed. The entire sky was enveloped by these lights, which spread for hundreds of miles. But he's not dead. Lu Chang was surprised. He realized that Lin Xian had not been assassinated and that powerful aura was still there. This surprised him. One had to know that the power of his spear was extremely terrifying. A third heaven venerable realm martial artist could not withstand it at all. However, Lin Xian was able to withstand it. This surprised him greatly. Lin Xian was also slightly moved. Although Lin Xian was arrogant and detestable, he had to admit that he was indeed powerful. The power of the spear was too terrifying. It was as if a true dragon was continuously attacking. There was also a trace of terrifying destructive aura in it. With a flash of light, Lin Xian and Lu Chang's figures appeared in front of everyone again. Well, he's fine. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect Lin Xian to be able to withstand such a stunning spear attack. It could be said that Lin Xian's performance was beyond everyone's expectations. Lu Chang snorted coldly, "You do have some ability. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. But let's see how many spears you can take." Lu Chang's entire body was emitting a terrifying aura. There was a blood-red glow in his eyes as he opened and closed them. The aura on his body was too powerful. He was like a god of war and was unstoppable. With a long roar, he attacked again with his spear. Furious Dragon Spear Technique. Lu Chang held the blood-red spear and swung it. His entire body emitted a blood-red glow. Streaks of shocking spear light flashed. It was as if a mountain was being split open and the sky was being torn apart. The momentum was astonishing. In the end, countless spear lights converged into one and shook the entire space. Lin Xian's expression was cold. There was a sharp sword light flashing in his eyes. Terrifying sword chi also surrounded his body. The great dragon sword soul within his body surged, providing him with the most powerful combat strength. A shocking sword chi tore through the sky and quickly slashed down. It was like a bolt of lightning descending from the sky, causing everyone's ears to ring and unable to stand steadily. The sword light was like the 9 heavens thunder tribulation. It was so terrifying that the entire White Bone Mountain was trembling. Everyone was shocked, and their faces were incomparably pale. No matter what, even if Lin Xian was defeated in the end, it was still enough to shock the world. That was because he was simply too powerful, especially that sword. Its attack power was astonishing, as if it could split the world apart. Terrifying energy surged, drowning the entire sky. After the violent explosion, 2 figures quickly retreated, standing on opposite sides. Everyone looked up at the sky, and their hearts trembled violently. Neither of them was injured, and their auras were getting stronger and stronger. They could not help but be shocked. Lu Chang was a super strong cultivator ranked 4th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. Everyone could understand why he was not injured. However, Lin Xian, a freshman, was actually unharmed. This made them extremely shocked. That lad must have used some kind of powerful defensive technique. Otherwise, he would not have been able to block such a powerful energy attack. Everyone was amazed. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. Lin Xian was too powerful, and his attack power was terrifying. It would be difficult for others to snatch the golden demonic core from him. At the moment, Lu Chang was probably the only one with hope. I was wondering what it was. It turns out that you've used some kind of defensive secret technique. However, so what if your defense is strong? My attack power is not something you can imagine. Lu Chang's voice was cold, and his eyes were burning with anger. Actually, he was not as calm as he looked. That was because he had tied with his opponent in both attacks. If his opponent was a super strong cultivator ranked 3rd on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard, then it would be fine. However, his opponent was not. He was just a freshman. He could not accept that. Therefore, he did not plan to hold back and was prepared to attack with all his might. Lad, I've had enough fun. When you're transported out of the demon-slaying world, I'll take the treasures from you. Now you can die safely. Then, Lu Chang took a step forward and looked down at Lin Xian like a god of war. Above his head, an endless amount of blood-red chi surged and quickly condensed into the shadow of a blood-red spear. In the next moment, a shocking power was released. It was as if it could split mountains and rivers and crush everything. Martial soul, this is the power of a martial soul. Lu Chang had summoned his martial soul. It looked like he was going to finish off his opponent in one move. Indeed, the shadow of the blood-red spear was Lu Chang's martial soul. Although they had tied, Lu Chang had decided not to waste any more time with his opponent. After all, the longer he dragged it out, the more embarrassed he would be. He had to use his strongest attack to kill his opponent. Only then would it be in line with his reputation. As the blood-red spear martial soul condensed, streaks of blood-red spear radiance shot into the sky, connecting heaven and earth. In an instant, the entire sky was blood-red. It was boundless. In the next moment, his martial soul merged with the spear in his hand and released a dazzling light. It was like a blood-red sun that was extremely dazzling. Lu Chang's black hair fluttered in the wind. Every move he made had an aura that could swallow mountains and rivers and crush everything. He was like a deity that wanted to crush Lin Xian in an extremely domineering manner. The surrounding martial artists trembled and could not help but want to kneel down. In their eyes, Lu Chang was like a god of war. He was unstoppable. His aura made them tremble from the depths of their hearts. You want to finish me in one move? Very well, as you wish. Lin Xian's voice was cold. The great dragon sword soul in his body erupted again. An extremely sharp aura filled his body. In front of him, an ice lotus rotated and released a terrifying icy power. It was vast and mighty, as if it was going to freeze the entire White Bone Mountain. Then, under Lin Xian's control, the ice lotus covered the Lone Star sword, causing it to emit a cold aura. It was as if it was a sword of ice. Lin Xian moved quickly in the void and rushed toward Lu Chang. Waves of bone-chilling ice energy quickly bloomed, and the extremely powerful Great Dragon Sword soul was also contained within. Bang! The two of them collided and an earth-shattering battle broke out. Countless rays of light scattered in all directions. At this moment, everyone's hearts trembled. Lin Xian was too powerful. He was like a peerless sword immortal. He was extremely sharp and actually forced Lu Chang to retreat. Die, brat! Lu Chang was completely enraged. He had already released his martial soul and used his most powerful attack. He originally thought that he could kill Lin Xian with one move. However, he did not expect that he would be forced to retreat. This made him feel like he was going crazy. He could not take it anymore. He decisively used a killing move of the Angry Dragon Spear art, wanting to kill Lin Xian. Angry Dragon Spear art, Dragon Soaring 9 Heavens. Chapter 977. In the next moment, as the crimson spear in his hand pierced out, the huge dragon shadow also roared and rushed forward. Let's end this. Lin Xian's voice was cold. He was like a sword god as he slashed out a sword chi that pierced through the entire heaven and earth, rushing forward quickly. Wherever the sword chi passed, the void would be sliced apart. A terrifying sword scar would appear on the ground, extending into the distance. In the void, the crimson dragon was also cut in half by the sword. The huge corpse split open in the air, causing countless airwaves. However, it was not over yet. The shocking sword chi instantly arrived in front of Lu Chang and enveloped him. Block it! Lu Chang roared. The crimson light around his body condensed into a huge defensive light shield that enveloped his body and resisted the sword chi. Bang! It was as if two huge mountains had collided. A terrifying sound rang out in the surroundings. Then, Lu Chang flew backward like a meteor. He smashed more than 10 mountains in a row before his body stopped and landed in a pile of rubble. What? Lu Chang lost? Everyone was stunned as they stared blankly at the scene. They could not believe it. Jiang Yan and the others' pupils shrank as their minds went blank. That was Lu Chang, a super expert who was ranked 4th. However, he had lost to Lin Xian. Everyone was shocked when Lu Chang was sent flying by the sword. Even Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei on the mountain peak were surprised. They knew that Lin Xian was powerful, but they did not expect him to be so powerful that he could defeat Lu Chang. In other words, his strength was above Lu Chang's. No wonder he could kill a golden beast. This kid's strength was not bad. Dugu Outyin smirked. The stronger the opponent was, the higher their chances of winning against the gatekeeper. Li Yunfei's expression was not good. He did not want Lin Xian to win. After all, he had warned Lin Xian before and they were somewhat hostile. At that time, he did not take Lin Xian seriously. He thought that the gap between them was like heaven and earth and that Lin Xian would never be able to catch up with him. However, he did not expect that the other party would improve so quickly that he could already defeat Lu Chang. Judging from the strength that he had displayed, Lin Xian could already enter the top 3 of the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. However, although he didn't believe it, the truth was right in front of him. In the ruins below, Lu Chang stood up with great difficulty. The armor on his chest had been shattered long ago, and countless cracks had spread all over it. His eyes were filled with terror. Impossible, I won't lose. How could I lose to him? Lu Chang shook his head frantically. He could not accept this reality. He was a super strong fighter ranked 4th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. How could he lose to a new student? Furthermore, he had prepared too much for this demon-slaying conference. Originally, he had thought that his current strength was enough to squeeze into the top 3 of the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. He had not expected to be defeated here. I don't believe it. I won't lose. Lu Chang roared at the sky with a crazed expression. But very quickly, his voice abruptly stopped, as if someone was strangling him. It was extremely strange. This was because Lin Xian's figure had suddenly appeared in front of him. An ice-cold sword was pressed against his throat. If he dared to scream again, he believed that the long sword would definitely pierce his body in an instant. Lu Chang trembled when he felt the cold aura from the sword. Fear rose in his heart. What are you trying to do? He suppressed the fear in his heart. He could not help but be afraid now. The sword earlier had already severely injured him. Now, the other party was pressing a long sword against his vitals. If he did not handle this well, he might be killed and teleported out of the demon-slaying world. If that happened, things would get out of hand. He had prepared a lot for the demon-slaying conference. If he was teleported out now, all his previous efforts would have been in vain. Brat, I'm warning you. I'm Master Ling Feng's subordinate. You can't kill me. I can't kill you? Lin Xian sneered. Who do you think you are? I've already destroyed the Wanxiang auction, let alone you. Moreover, you can't blame others for your situation today. If you didn't cause trouble for me and threaten the people around me, I wouldn't even know who you are and wouldn't have fought with you. But you dug your own grave and attacked the people around me. You can't blame me for this. With that, Lin Xian's body emitted a murderous aura. The lone star sword in his hand quickly slashed down. Lu Chang was finally afraid. A deep sense of fear and unwillingness appeared in his eyes. He did not expect Lin Xian to ignore his identity and kill him directly. The surrounding crowd also exclaimed. They did not expect Lin Xian to actually attack. Many people even exclaimed. Clang. However, in the next moment, the sound of metal clashing rang out and shook the entire area. Lin Xian frowned and quickly retreated. A huge force collided with the lone star sword, causing it to deviate from its target. Hearing the explosion beside him, Lu Chang suddenly opened his eyes. He was ecstatic when he realized that he was not dead. The surrounding crowd also exclaimed. They did not expect the situation to change at the last moment. On the other hand, Lin Xian's brows were tightly furrowed as he quickly scanned the surroundings. In the next moment, he squinted his eyes. He discovered that 2 figures had appeared. Their bodies were emitting rays of light as they rapidly descended from the mountain. In the end, their bodies swayed and appeared on the battlefield. Seeing the 2 of them, Lin Xian was slightly surprised. The surrounding crowd also exclaimed. Li Yunfei. They did not expect the 2 of them to appear at the last moment. One had to know that these 2 were the top disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy. Their fame was much greater than Lu Chang's. In the hearts of the crowd, Duga Aoyan and Li Yunfei were the true giants. You've already won. Why do you have to kill him? Li Yunfei coldly said. All right, let Lu Chang apologize and let this matter pass. After all, his strength is not bad. In the final battle of the Demon Blood Pool, he might be of use, Dugu Aoyan said. Demon Blood Pool battle? Hearing this, the crowd pricked up their ears. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Li Yunfei said in a low voice, You all should know that this mountain of bones is the location of the final gatekeepers. On the 3 highest peaks, there are 3 gatekeepers. Only by defeating all 3 of them will we be able to pass through the mountain of bones and enter the demon blood pool at the end and obtain benefits. The fewer people we use to challenge the gatekeepers, the more benefits we will obtain in the demon blood pool. Logically speaking, one person challenging all the gatekeepers is the best situation. However, I'm sorry to tell everyone that this is impossible. This time, the gatekeepers are extremely powerful. Even if Dugu and I join forces, we won't be able to challenge them. Hence, the most ideal choice is to challenge one gatekeeper each. Originally, this matter should be taken up by the top 3 on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. However, Red Buddha, who is ranked 3rd, did not participate in the demon-slaying gathering this time. Chapter 978. Initially, we decided that Lu Chang would be our challenger. However, it seems like we'll have to change the challenger. Lin Xian, are you willing to be the 3rd challenger? Of course, if you're not willing, we won't force you. Lin Xian frowned slightly when he heard that. His eyes flickered. He had a conflict with Li Yunfei before, but now was not the time to settle their grudges. Joining forces against the 3 gatekeepers was the most important thing. However, he did not expect the final gatekeeper to be so powerful that even Dugu Aoyan and Li Yunfei could not pass through him. Moreover, what surprised him even more was that the 3rd challenger slot seemed to have fallen into his hands. Seeing that Lin Xian seemed to be hesitating, Dugu Aoyan added, Junior brother Lin, becoming a challenger is an honor and a form of affirmation. If you can accept the challenge and succeed, you'll be a great contributor to the entire academy. Contributor? Lin Xian shook his head slightly when he heard that. Then, he asked, Are there any substantial benefits? He did not care about such an illusory title. He wanted to know that since there were challengers, there would definitely be additional rewards. Dugu Aoyan said in a low voice, If the challenger succeeds, he'll receive a golden demon core. Moreover, it's a real golden demon core, not the one that just evolved into a golden demon beast. Golden demon core. Everyone exclaimed when they heard that. Their eyes were burning with passion once again. They did not expect the challenger to receive such great benefits. Moreover, from Dugu Aoyan's words, it seemed that the golden demon core was even better than the one in Lin Xian's hands. Everyone swallowed their saliva when they heard that. They did not expect the challenger's reward to be so good that it would be a golden demon core. Instantly, countless human kings looked at Lin Xian with envy. Lin Xian already had a golden demon core. If he could get another one, he would be invincible. However, envy was envy. They did not dare to have any ideas. After all, even the powerful Lu Chang had been defeated. In their opinion, Lin Xian definitely had the strength to be in the top 3 of the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. Otherwise, Dugu Aoyan and Li Yunfei would not have invited him to be the 3rd challenger. Ordinary warriors only dared to be envious, but Jiang Yan and the others were burning with jealousy. That was a gold demon core. It was something that countless people dreamed of. Especially Qi Hao, even his breathing had become extremely rapid. His eyes were completely red, and his body couldn't help but tremble slightly. He clenched his fists 3 times, but finally put them down. There was nothing he could do. Although he was jealous, he was no match for Lin Xian. However, at this moment, a sharp voice rang out. What? He will be the 3rd challenger. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads and looked over. Then, a strange look appeared on their faces. This was because they realized that the person who spoke was none other than the heavily injured Lu Chang. What is Lu Chang doing? Didn't he already lose? That's right. Although he's strong, he's no match for Lin Xian right now. There's no way he'll be able to obtain the 3 challenge slots. I guess he's not satisfied. After all, it's a gold demon core. It's extremely precious. Lu Chang was indeed jealous. In fact, he was extremely jealous. He gritted his teeth and said, I was careless just now. I still have a few trump cards that I haven't used yet. If I use them, I'll definitely win. Hearing this, Li Yunfei was expressionless, but Dugu Outyin frowned. When Lin Xian heard this, he sneered. You want to fight for the third challenge slot? There was a hint of mockery in his voice. Of course. I was careless just now. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't have one. Lu Chang gritted his teeth and said shamelessly. I advise you to give up. Lin Xian shrugged. That's not up to you. Lu Chang snorted coldly and looked at Li Yunfei with his hand on his chest. Lin Xian ignored his little actions and continued to say coldly, because you'll be leaving the demon-slaying world soon. At the end of his sentence, a blood-red light suddenly surged out of his body. It carried a thick blood qi and swept across the entire area. This blood-red aura was extremely powerful, much more powerful than Lu Chang's. In the next moment, a blood-red long sword appeared in Lin Xian's left hand. It was suffused with a blood-red light as if it was a bloodthirsty demon. The blood-red long sword stabbed out and instantly pierced into Lu Chang's body. Immediately, blood spurted out and covered the entire area. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Lin Xian to suddenly make a move. Moreover, it was a heavy blow. Even Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei were stunned. They didn't expect Lin Xian to attack in front of them. However, Dugu Outyin was still fine. He was originally somewhat dissatisfied with Lu Chang's request. After all, Lin Xian had already won and already had the third challenge slot. However, Lu Chang still wanted to challenge again. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Li Yunfei's face darkened. Originally, he wanted to give Lu Chang a chance. If he really had a trump card that he hadn't used, he might be able to defeat Lin Xian. However, before he could speak, Lin Xian beat him to it and seriously injured Lu Chang. It was so fast that even he couldn't react. Lu Chang's body trembled. His eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. The spiritual energy in his body was quickly drained. In the end, his body turned into a white light and disappeared from the demon-slaying world. No matter how hard he tried, he still left the demon-slaying world in the end. At the last moment, he probably didn't expect that he would leave in such a way. The scene was silent for a moment. Everyone fell into a daze. The people of the Spear God Society were all stunned. They looked at Lin Xian with a face full of horror. Wei Long's body trembled and he almost wet himself. Lin Xian shrugged. You don't really think that this guy has any trump cards, do you? Even if he does, he's not my opponent. Even so, you shouldn't have sent him out of the demon-slaying world, right? Li Yunfei's voice carried a trace of blame. Lin Xian also stopped smiling and said coldly, I think you've forgotten that he's my enemy. I've never been soft-hearted when dealing with enemies. Hearing this, everyone was silent and their hearts trembled. Indeed, Lu Chang had desperately tried to capture Lin Xian's companions. He had even tried to kill Lin Xian many times. It could be said that there was an irreconcilable hatred between the two. Now that Lin Xian had sent him out of the demon-slaying world, no one would say anything. In the distance, Murong Qingqing also breathed a sigh of relief. A smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Great, junior brother Lin won. Su Yu and the others cheered. The black-white double ghosts were also excited. This guy is too strong. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to win. Moreover, it was a crushing victory. This was simply too unbelievable. After all, his opponent was not a weakling. He was a super powerhouse who ranked 4th. However, such a powerhouse was defeated by Lin Xian in the end and was even driven out of the demon-slaying world. Chapter 979. In the distance, a huge white mountain peak was faintly discernible in the clouds. He knew that there were 3 powerful enemies in the mountain, who were the gatekeepers in their eyes. They had to defeat the 3 gatekeepers in order to pass through the White Bone Mountain and enter the demonic blood pool. Even though Lin Xian was now the 3rd challenger, it would not be easy for him to defeat the gatekeeper. Even Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei did not have full confidence in defeating the gatekeepers. One could imagine how powerful the gatekeepers were. Murong Qingshan's eyes flickered as well, carrying a trace of worry. However, she did not suggest joining forces because she believed in Lin Xian. She believed that he could do it. In front, Dugu Outyin looked at Lin Xian. Although his gaze was calm, it contained a mysterious power as if he wanted to see through Lin Xian. Li Yunfei also looked at Lin Xian with a complicated expression. Lin Xian did not feel pressured by the gazes of these two influential figures. He asked, "Seniors, can you tell me more about the gatekeepers? Only by knowing the enemy and oneself could one win 100 battles." Therefore, before the battle, he would think about what kind of existence his opponents were. These three gatekeepers are very special. They are not completely demonic beasts. To be exact, they are members of the demonic clan. Demonic clan. Lin Xian was shocked and his pupils shrank. He did not expect the gatekeepers to be members of the demonic clan. The demonic clan was a more powerful and noble existence than the demonic beasts. Not only did they have the strong physique of the demonic beasts, but they also had intelligence that was not inferior to humans. They could be said to be very powerful. Lin Xian did not expect the gatekeepers to be members of the demonic clan. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian suppressed the shock in his heart and asked again, "What realm are they in?" "They are not weaker than the gold demonic beasts." Li Yunfei said, "Of course, the gold demonic beasts here are mature ones, not the ones you killed that had just advanced. Although they were all gold demonic beasts, the ones that had just advanced were still weaker." Lin Xian understood this point. Very strong indeed. Lin Xian took a deep breath, wondering if the 10,000 beast cauldron could affect the demon race. Although he was curious, he didn't plan to use it again. At least, he couldn't be as brazen as last time. Because this final battle would be shown to the immortal martial academy in the outside world. At that time, even the headmaster and elders would be spectating the battle. If he were to reveal some of his secrets, it would surely attract unnecessary trouble. Therefore, this battle was very difficult. Previously, Li Yunfei and I fought against the Guardian once. Our best result was a draw. However, according to the rules of the monster-slaying world, as long as we don't lose, we'll pass, Dugu Outyin said. If he didn't lose, he would pass. Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. In other words, as long as they tied, they would win. But in the next moment, he frowned again because Dugu Outyin and Yunfei were able to fight to a draw in a one-on-one battle. In other words, whether or not he could pass this stage would depend on him. If he could win or tie, then they would be able to enter. But if he failed here, then they would completely lose the chance to enter the demon blood pool. Because according to the rules of the monster-slaying world, they had to defeat 3 guardians. This is really stressful. Lin Xian rubbed his temples. He laughed bitterly. In such a short period of time, the hopes of all the immortal martial disciples in the monster-slaying world were all placed on him. Before this was something he would never have imagined. Before this, they risked their lives to kill the demonic beasts and collect their demonic cores, all for the sake of obtaining good fortune in the demon blood pool. But if they were unable to successfully defeat the guardians, then all their previous efforts would have been wasted. If that was really the case, it would be an extremely heavy blow. Probably no one would be able to accept such an outcome. And the key to success or failure this time all depended on Lin Xian. "Now, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to regret," Li Yunfei said in a low voice. "Although the pressure is great, I won't give up." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, and his eyes shone with a dazzling light. Wasn't it just the demon clan? Wasn't it just the guardians? At worst, he would fight with his life on the line. There was nothing to be afraid of. Moreover, he had many trump cards in his hands. If he used his full strength, it would be hard to say who would win. Actually, you don't have to feel any pressure. Just do your best. Dugu Outyin comforted from the side. When the surrounding people heard this, they almost fell silent. Pairs of expectant eyes looked at the 3 people in the field. They knew that whether or not they could obtain the fortune in the demon blood pool in the end all depended on the 3 people in front of them. Su Yu and the others were shocked. They had been in contact with Lin Xian for the longest time. When they first entered the monster-slaying world, they met him. But they didn't expect that the handsome young man they met back then would now become the final challenger. This kind of rapid growth and the contrast between their identities shocked Su Yu and the others. Murong Qingqing, on the other hand, had a faint smile on her face as she looked at Lin Xian gently. Although she knew that the guardian must be very strong, she believed that Lin Xian would definitely be able to win. Well, get ready. Adjust your body to the peak. We will soon begin the final challenge, Dugu Outyin said to Lin Xian. Then he glanced around and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, we will have the final challenge in 3 days. Please inform each other that all disciples of the demon-slaying world should come to the White Bone Mountain within 3 days. Although I don't know the final result, please believe that we will do our best." Dugu Outyen's sonorous voice spread clearly in all directions. Hearing this, everyone became excited. They knew that the final battle was about to begin. The news quickly spread throughout the monster-slaying world. Everyone was excited. They didn't care about collecting demon cores anymore. They all hurried to White Bone Mountain. They had to get to White Bone Mountain in the last minute to witness the final battle. At night, a cool breeze blew and a faint demon chi floated in the sky. On top of the gigantic White Bone Mountain, a young figure sat cross-legged. His palms were constantly changing seals. Along with the seals, the surrounding spiritual energy quickly gathered and flowed into his body. Then, the surface of his body began to emit a faint light that contained a vast amount of power. This process lasted for a long time. Then, the handsome young man slowly opened his eyes. Then, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. "I've finally recovered," Lin Xian said. After half a day of recovery, he finally adjusted his body to the peak state again. "Are you nervous?" Murong Qingqing, who was as beautiful as a fairy, asked. "A little." Lin Xian rubbed his face. Chapter 980. Actually, you don't have to think too much. The 3 of you are already the most powerful among these people. If even the 3 of you can't win, then the others won't have any hope. Moreover, even if you lose, I don't think anyone will blame you, Murong Qingqing said softly. "I hope so." Lin Xian let out a long sigh. He covered his head with both hands and lay on the ground. On the ground, there was a faint chill from the white bones and hair. Lin Xian didn't feel any discomfort lying on top of them. He rested his head on his arms and looked at the light purple sky. His eyes flickered, and no one knew what he was thinking. Seeing this scene, Murong Qingqing also followed Lin Shui's example and lay down on the White Bone Mountain. Murong Qingqing's little face was slightly red, and her heart was beating non-stop. To be honest, it was her first time being so close to the opposite sex. She turned her head slightly and looked at Lin Xian, who was close by, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. She didn't know why, but she seemed to enjoy the current feeling very much. Suddenly, a thought appeared in her heart. How good would it be if the 2 of them could lie like this forever? As if sensing Murong Qingqing's gaze, Lin Xian also turned his head to look at her. Then their eyes met. Murong Qingqing's little face was hot, but this time, she didn't look away. The 2 of them looked at each other quietly, as if they had forgotten everything. A gentle breeze blew, fluttering their clothes and also their hearts. When the sky gradually turned white, the entire White Bone Mountain became lively. Almost everyone came to the White Bone Mountain, waiting to watch the final battle. When Lin Xian, Dugu Outyin, and Li Yunfei appeared in the sky, everyone stood up. They looked at the sky with excitement and anticipation. Lin Xian stood in the sky and looked at the crowd below. He was also excited. Dugu Outyin carried an ancient sword on his back and said loudly, "Let's go. Everyone, follow me to where the gatekeepers are." Then he turned around and stepped into the air. Lin Xian took a deep breath and followed. The countless martial artists below were also running excitedly. For a moment, the entire White Bone Mountain was shaking as if there was an earthquake. And just when everyone was heading towards the Guardian, the students of the Immortal Martial Academy were all extremely agitated. Countless disciples gathered at the True Martial Lake and looked up at the sky with excitement. The image of the White Bone Mountain was displayed there. When they saw the incomparably huge White Bone Mountain tremble slightly, everyone's eyes became fiery, because they knew that the final challenge was about to begin. They had waited so long for this final moment. Needless to say, the last 3 challenges would definitely be to kill the 3 strongest people in the demon realm. Their battle was definitely a top-notch battle. It was rare for them to see a battle of this level. Now that they had the opportunity to observe it, how could they not be moved? Moreover, these people also wanted to see what the legendary guardian looked like. In the sky, a few elders also revealed curious expressions. Headmaster Xian waved her hands and shot out a series of laws into the sky. Instantly, the image became even clearer. Everyone below held their breaths and stared at the sky. Then they discovered that on the huge white bone mountain, 3 silhouettes gradually appeared. The 3 silhouettes were shrouded in light and floated in the air, looking extremely mysterious. Is that the gatekeeper? How mysterious! Yeah, although it's just a portrait, I can still feel a sense of palpitating aura. I wonder who these 3 gatekeepers are. They don't look like demonic beasts. Everyone was discussing, their hearts were filled with curiosity. The 3 guardians floated in the air, their bodies emitting a faint glow. They didn't move at all and just sat there quietly, as if they had been like this since ancient times. Suddenly, the clouds in the image rolled as if there was a huge wave of air rushing over, blowing away all the clouds and making the image clearer. Everyone's eyes widened. They knew that this change wasn't caused by the headmaster, but by something inside the white bone mountain. Rays of light lit up from the foot of the mountain, accompanied by countless rapid sounds of breaking through the air. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing over. "They're here! They're here!" Someone exclaimed, and the voice immediately spread throughout the entire true martial lake. In the next moment, everyone raised their heads and trembled with excitement. They clenched their fists and looked expectant. Who do you think the 3 challengers will be? The first 2 must be Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei. As for the third one, I'm not sure. Needless to say, it must be the most powerful one. Yes, it should be Red Buddha, who's ranked 3rd on the Mystic Venerable leaderboard. However, he doesn't seem to be participating in the demon-slaying gathering. That's why the 3rd challenger is so confusing. If the 3rd one didn't participate, it must be Lu Chang, who's ranked 4th. He's also a super powerhouse. I don't think he's much stronger than Li Yunfei and the others. It's possible, but not necessarily. After all, a large number of dark horses will appear in every demon-slaying gathering. This time, there will definitely be one. Perhaps someone will soar into the sky. Yes, I know. Those are all from the Hidden Dragon Society. They usually lie low in order to become famous in the demon-slaying gathering. Perhaps this time, someone will surpass everyone else and obtain the 3rd challenger spot. Stop discussing. I'm so excited that I'm about to pee my pants. Why aren't they here yet? Let me see who the 3rd challenger is. At this moment, everyone's attention is on the 3rd challenger because he's the most uncertain and mysterious. In the sky, a few elders were also looking at the screen with a smile. Their faces were full of interest. Hee, I can't believe I'm also looking forward to the 3rd challenger. Yes, although the dark horses and newcomers this time are very strong, I'm afraid they're not at the level of the challengers. As for Lu Chang, although his strength and reputation are not bad, he seems to be a little lacking. I'm guessing that this time, they might be working together. You're saying that the 3rd challenger will be working together? It's possible. After all, there's only one chance to challenge. If they lose, they'll lose the chance to enter the demon blood pool. I'm afraid those little guys won't take such a risk. The safest way is for the 4th and 5th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard to work together. Although the benefits will be less, it's still better than failure. The 4th and 5th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard will be Lu Chang and Qi Hao working together. Perhaps there's another combination. At this moment, Dean Xian said, "Don't forget about Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing. They had also killed gold demon beasts." Yes, it's possible. Although these 2 are newcomers, their strength is very strong. Moreover, Lin Xian has the Lonely Heart Sword, a half-Earth rank treasure. His strength must be even higher. Murong Qingqing must also have the secret technique of a royal clan. If these two work together, I'm afraid they won't lose to Lu Chang and Qi Hao. Chapter 981. I wonder which group they'll be joining forces with this time? The elders quickly discussed. Don't worry, they'll definitely choose the strongest group. The four of them must have gone through a battle, and the winner will be the third challenger, Dean Xian said. Hearing that, all the elders nodded. Hey, they're here, an elder said. At that moment, the disciples below also noticed the changes on the light screen. They immediately became nervous and held their breaths as they looked over nervously. The first to appear was a young man with a black longsword on his back. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he had a majestic figure. He walked like a dragon or a tiger, like a god of war. Every move he made gave off a boundless pressure. Dugu Outyen. Seeing this figure, everyone exclaimed in surprise. The first to appear was indeed Dugu Outyen. As the first on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, he was definitely the strongest. After Dugu Outyen, it was a handsome young man. He was like a banished immortal, walking in the air with his hands behind his back. Li Yunfei. Seeing those handsome young men, the crowd cheered again. As the second on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, Li Yunfei's strength was only second to Dugu Outyen. Those two people's strength was extraordinary, and they were above everyone else. They could be said to be the two strongest people. Therefore, the crowd was not surprised that those two people had become challengers. What they were most concerned about was the mysterious third person. After those two people, another figure appeared before everyone's eyes. However, when everyone saw that figure, they were all stunned. Even the elders in the air were stunned. Everyone looked at the third figure and were all stunned. Lin Xian. Everyone exclaimed, their faces full of shock. All the martial artists in the true martial lake were stunned. They originally thought that the third person to appear would be Lu Chang, who was the fourth on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. They did not expect it to be Lin Xian. This was too unexpected. Although Lin Xian was powerful, the crowd did not think that he had the strength to be a challenger. Moreover, although the news of the gold-colored beast being killed had spread, the names displayed were Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing. Therefore, they did not know how strong Lin Xian was. However, the fact that Lin Xian was able to obtain the third challenger slot meant that his battle prowess was still above everyone's expectations. Fuck, am I dreaming? Third place is actually Lin Xian. It's not Lu Chang, it's not anyone else, and it's definitely not someone from the Hidden Dragon League. It's actually Lin Xian. This fellow is probably the biggest dark horse in this demon-slaying assembly. Brother Xian, it's actually Brother Xian. Ah, this is awesome. Did older Brother Xian set another record? I'm afraid this is the first freshman to become a challenger, right? The disciples of Dragon Sword Pavilion laughed crazily, their faces filled with excitement. Lin Xian was their boss. If Lin Xian's reputation rose, they would also benefit from it. Therefore, when they saw that the third challenger was their boss, they all shouted in excitement. In the sky, Dean Xian and the group of elders were also stunned. They had already guessed that Lin Xian would appear, but they didn't expect him to appear alone. This was because in their estimation, other than Dugu Ao Tian and Li Yunfei, no one else could reach the level of a challenger by themselves. Therefore, in their opinion, the third challenger slot would appear in the form of a team. It would either be Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing, or Lu Chang and Qi Hao. However, at this moment, Lin Xian appeared alone, which indeed surprised them. A few elders even waited for a long time, but Murong Qingqing's figure did not appear. Only then did they believe that Lin Shui wanted to challenge alone. Isn't it too hasty to let a freshman fight? An elder frowned. This result really exceeded everyone's expectations. Not necessarily. Since they chose Lin Xian, they naturally have their reasons. Don't worry, these little guys won't joke about this. After all, they only have one chance to challenge and it's related to everyone's interests, so no one will be careless. Lin Xian was able to obtain the third challenger slot. This means that he has the ability to convince everyone. Dean Xian slowly said. After hearing this, the other elders nodded in agreement. Indeed, if Lin Xian did not have the corresponding ability, it would be impossible for him to obtain the third challenger slot. Thinking of this, they all looked forward to seeing how Lin Xian would perform in the challenge. Below, after the initial excitement, the disciples of the academy all quieted down. Everyone looked at the sky. They wanted to see how strong Lin Xian was to obtain the third challenger slot. In the monster-slaying realm, Lin Xian was in the void, looking at the three faint figures in front of him with a solemn expression. Needless to say, these three people were the legendary gatekeepers. Although they did not deliberately release their aura, he could still feel a powerful energy hibernating in their bodies. It was not weaker than Dugu Ao Tian and the others at all. At the same time, he also felt the existence of monster chi from the energy, which added a bit of fierceness. Before leaving, Lin Xian learned the basic information of the three gatekeepers from Dugu Ao Tian. These three were all from the monster clan and had extraordinary origins. One of them was a genius from the spiritual feather clan. He was very powerful and should be the strongest of the three gatekeepers. This person was naturally left to Dugu Ao Tian to deal with. There was also an elite from the giant rock clan. His innate defense was incomparably strong, and he was very terrifying. This person was left to Li Yunfei. The last one left to Lin Xian was the last one, an elite from the Golden Crow clan. These three gatekeepers were very powerful, and there was not much difference between them. However, the one from the spiritual feather clan was the strongest, and the other two were about the same strength. As if sensing the arrival of Lin Xian and the others, the three gatekeepers in front of them slowly opened their eyes. "You're finally here." A cold voice sounded without a trace of emotion. "Yes, this time we're here for the real challenge," Dugu Ao Tian said in a deep voice. Dugu Outyan said in a deep voice. He had come here a few times with Li Yunfei and had fought with these people before, so he was not unfamiliar with them. Hearing Dugu Ao Tian's words, the light on the three gatekeepers gradually disappeared, revealing their true bodies. "This is the third challenger? He doesn't seem to be very powerful." A gaze swept towards Lin Xian, and then a cold voice sounded. While the three gatekeepers were looking at Lin Xian was also quickly sizing them up. The person in the middle was a handsome young man. He was slender and had a pair of white wings on his back. He looked like an angel. He was the strongest of the three gatekeepers, the elite from the spiritual feather clan. On his left was a tall figure. His muscles were like rocks, emitting a brown light. He was incomparably tall, like a rock giant. The last one was an elite from the Golden Crow clan. His entire body was emitting a golden light like golden feathers. He was surrounded by a blazing aura. Seeing the last elite from the Golden Crow clan, Lin Xian frowned slightly. He could clearly remember that he had seen a great demon from the Golden Crow clan on the 8th level of the Flaming Mountain. That was true terror. Every movement of his carried a terrifying aura. Golden Crow Clan. Chapter 982. Don't worry, he's not much weaker than us. You'll know when the time comes. Dugu Outyan said indifferently when he heard the spiritual feather elite's question. Oh, is that so? The spiritual feather elite was surprised when he heard Dugu Outyan's words. He looked at Lin Xian in surprise again. Although he was not human and the two of them were opponents, he knew Dugu Outyan's strength. Dugu Outyan was a super elite who was not weaker than him. Someone who could be praised by him must be extraordinary. Since that's the case, let's begin. The spiritual feather elite said coldly, "The last time we fought, we were evenly matched. This time, I'll use my true strength to fight with you." He stared at Dugu Outyan. "All right, let's continue the battle from last time and decide the winner this time." A domineering aura gradually emerged from Dugu Outyan's body as if he was a king looking down on the world. Then, the two of them soared into the sky and came to a mountain peak to confront each other. "Brother Rock, let's have a match too," Li Yunfei said indifferently. "I'll fight with you." Before the expert from the Boulder tribe could speak, the young man from the Golden Crow tribe spoke quickly. His eyes shone with a shocking light. However, Li Yunfei shook his head slightly. "No, your opponent is him." Then he pointed at Lin Xian. "Oof, a brat who just entered the third heaven of the supremacy realm. Such a person is not worthy of being my opponent." The Golden Crow elite snorted with a disdainful expression. In his opinion, Lin Xian was too weak and was not worthy of being his opponent. However, Li Yunfei ignored him and said to the Boulder elite, "Brother Boulder, please." "Alright." The Boulder elite nodded in agreement. Then he turned to the Golden Crow elite and said, "Jin Yu, stop fooling around. Your opponent is him. Fight well. If you lose, I won't forgive you." The Golden Crow elite snorted coldly. He was very unhappy. Li Yunfei looked at Lin Xian and said in a low voice, "Be careful." Then he too rushed up and arrived at another mountain peak with the Boulder tribe. Only Lin Xian and the powerhouse of the Golden Crow clan, Jin Yu, were left in the field. Staring at Lin Xian, Jin Yu's face was filled with displeasure. "Brat, although I don't know how you obtained the third challenger spot, you're too weak. You don't have the qualifications to be my opponent. If you don't want to become a sinner, I advise you to get out of here and find someone stronger." Jin Yu stood proudly, his entire body emitting scorching energy. Lin Xian's expression also darkened. The other party had been attacking him coldly from the start, and his attitude was extremely arrogant. He didn't take him seriously at all. Did he really think that he was a pushover? Lin Xian only had one word for such an arrogant attitude: beat him up. Beat the other party until they were convinced. Hearing the other party's words, Lin Xian decisively shook his head. "No need. Make your move. I think that other than me, no one else can take on the third challenger spot." Lin Xian's voice wasn't loud, but it carried a domineering aura. At the same time, his body gradually emitted a fierce aura. He would go all out in this battle. At the same time, he would let the other party know why he had obtained the third challenger spot. You overestimate yourself. Very well, I'll personally deal with you." Jin Yu sneered disdainfully. "You look like the weakest. I estimate that after this battle, you'll lose the entire competition. Brat, you asked for this? You can't blame me." Jin Yu's body glowed, and a scorching energy quickly surged. The scorching energy quickly spread. Of the three battlefields, Lin Xian's side was the first to have an energy reaction. This greatly surprised everyone. On a lone mountain peak, the powerhouse of the spiritual feather tribe and Dugu Outyen were facing off. Both of them were very cautious and didn't attack rashly. Because their strength was similar, once they fought, it would be difficult to determine who would win. Thus, they had to find an opportunity to strike first. At this moment, the conflict between Lin Xian and Jin Yu had attracted their attention. "I'm still confused. Why did you give such an important position as the third challenger to a brat?" The powerhouse of the spiritual feather tribe was puzzled. "Although he's a bit young, his strength is far beyond your imagination. Don't doubt it. You'll find out soon enough," Dugu Outyen said. Then he pulled out the black longsword on his back. As the black longsword danced, a shocking sword chi rushed out, tearing through the sky and slashing toward the powerhouse of the spiritual feather tribe. The powerhouse of the spiritual feather tribe also let out a low roar. The pair of white wings on his back bloomed with light and quickly grew larger, covering the sky. Then, a shocking light shone, and a terrifying energy drowned the entire mountain peak. On the other side, Li Yunfei and the powerhouse of the Stoneman tribe were also fighting. Sonorous sounds like thunder rang out from time to time, shaking the surroundings. Seeing that Dugu Outyen and Li Yunfei were fighting, the disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy were all watching nervously. When they saw that the two groups were locked in battle and were equally matched, they all cheered. Because according to the rules of the demon-slaying world, they didn't need to win. As long as they tied, they would pass. Therefore, the current situation could be said to be very good. At the same time, they were also extremely shocked. This was because the gatekeepers were too strong. They were actually able to tie with Dugu Outyen. One could imagine how strong they were. Moreover, the three gatekeepers all had young faces. It was obvious that they were also young people, but they were a bit weirder than normal humans. The surrounding disciples were puzzled. What kind of power was able to nurture such young experts? Feeling the terrifying energy erupting from the two groups, Jin Yu once again grinned maliciously. "If it was an opponent like Dugu Outyen or Li Yunfei, I might be interested. But you, I'm not interested at all. I'm very curious. When you lose, what kind of gaze will those people behind you use to look at you? Maybe they'll beat you to death. Ha! Jin Yu raised his head and laughed loudly. I guarantee that you won't be able to laugh very soon. Lin Xian's expression was ice-cold. After that, his gaze focused as the great dragon sword spirit in his body surged, emitting a shocking sword intent that rapidly gushed out from his body, tearing apart the sky. The gigantic sword chi connected the heavens and earth, stirring up the clouds in the surroundings. The terrifying aura was vast and mighty, causing everyone to be shocked. As expected, at the next moment, Jin Yu stopped laughing. He once again looked at Lin Xian with a trace of astonishment in his eyes. What a powerful sword intent. Although this aura is inferior to Duge Outyen's, it isn't weak either. Jin Yu nodded lightly. The current Lin Xian had already caused him to be a little interested. At this moment, everyone held their breaths as they quietly watched the battle where Lin Xian was at. Not only in the demon-slaying world, even in the immortal martial academy, the disciples near the true martial lake were all staring at the sky with nervous expressions on their faces. Chapter 983. The elders looked at the screen in the sky and nodded. Indeed, Lin Xian's sword essence had surpassed most swordsmen. It was extremely powerful. Din Xian was also slightly surprised because he could sense that Lin Xian's sword essence had not stopped. It was still rising. This was a very interesting phenomenon. It meant that the sword essence that Lin Xian was displaying was not his full strength. The elders also noticed this and nodded. Not bad, not bad. Although this young man is a freshman, his sword essence still surpasses most people. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Although he is not as good as Duge Outyen, with some training he might become the second Duge Outyen in a few years. A few elders said as they stroked their beards. They already had the intention of training Lin Xian. However, in the next moment, their eyes widened in shock. They almost pulled their beards out. What? This sword essence? They were too shocked because on the White Bone Mountain, Lin Xian's sword essence exploded again. A deep dragon roar was heard, releasing a terrifying sword essence. Shocking sword light shone in all directions. At that moment, Lin Xian's sword essence increased again, reaching an extremely terrifying level. At that moment, Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind. Sword chi surrounded him, as if the sword god had been reborn. This sword essence is so powerful. Everyone was stunned. Even the elders were shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to have such a powerful sword essence. Judging from this aura, he doesn't seem to be weaker than Duge Outyen. This young man is indeed powerful. No wonder he was able to become the third challenger. At that moment, the elders also understood that they had underestimated Lin Xian. Although he was a freshman, his strength was definitely at the level of the top 3 on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. Jin Yu was also stunned. He looked at Lin Xian in shock. He did not expect that Lin Xian would have such a powerful sword essence. He had underestimated Lin Xian before, but now it seemed that Lin Xian was not weak. When the surrounding warriors felt this aura, they became even more excited. The stronger Lin Xian was, the happier they were. That way, they would have a higher chance of winning. Brat, I have to say that you have indeed exceeded my expectations. Jin Yu said in a deep voice, you are now qualified for me to make a move. Qualified? Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly. Don't jump to conclusions so early. I think it won't be long before your perception changes again. How arrogant. Today, I'll show you what I can do. Jin Yu snorted coldly. His eyes were sharp, and a dazzling golden light burst out from his body. The entire sky was shrouded in golden light. It was like a golden ocean, extremely dazzling. Boom! Like a muffled thunderclap, an incomparably terrifying undulation erupted from Jin Yu's body, shocking everyone. Feeling this aura, everyone revealed a look of horror. Some of the weaker martial artists even collapsed to the ground. This aura was too powerful and incomparable. It was mixed with a biting cold demonic aura, as if a peerless demon had awakened. In the next moment, the golden light in the sky bent and condensed into a golden sun that shone in all directions. An incomparably resplendent light blossomed with a blazing aura, like a real sun, pressing down on Lin Xian. What kind of technique is this? It's so terrifying. Who exactly is he? How can he be so powerful? At this moment, countless people screamed in horror. The golden light shone in all directions, so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. In the shining golden sun in the sky, a figure sat cross-legged. He was like the sun god, standing in the void, blooming with dazzling light. The resplendent sun set, and the figure looked disdainfully in all directions. He directly stomped down on Lin Xian. What? He's actually stomping on Lin Xian with one foot? He's too arrogant. Who exactly is this gatekeeper? Everyone exclaimed because the sword intent that Lin Xian displayed was already very powerful. However, the other party was even more arrogant. He actually stomped on Lin Xian with one foot. This was a naked humiliation. For a moment, the entire White Bone Mountain was shaking and trembling nonstop. The sky was fluttering like a piece of cloth, as if it would be torn apart at any time. That figure was too terrifying, as if he could crush everything. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his eyes were shining. The other party was too arrogant. He actually stomped on him with one foot. He did not take him seriously at all. He raised his palm and formed a sword seal. Immediately, the Lone Star sword on his back emitted a clanging sound and was quickly unsheathed. A light blue sword light shone like a vast star, incomparably deep. The great dragon sword spirit in Lin Xian's body erupted again as the Lone Star sword was unsheathed. It rushed into the clouds like a rainbow. In the end, the sword chi gradually evolved into a true dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, roaring in all directions. Accompanying it was an incomparably terrifying aura, as if it could destroy everything in the world. In the sky, the golden sun shone. The figure in the center was still disregarding everything and quickly stomping down. Facing Lin Xian's terrifying sword chi, he was still not afraid. He still suppressed his opponent with an arrogant attitude. How arrogant and conceited was this? However, no one would laugh at him because the other party had such strength. The golden sun was incomparably resplendent. It carried a terrifying power as it slowly rotated. The merciless golden light carried a scorching power that distorted and melted the entire void. In the next moment, the terrifying sword chi collided with the golden light that filled the sky. The sharp sword intent and the golden sun erupted with a piercing aura, causing everyone to feel terrified. The sky was shrouded by the two forces, entering a state of chaos. Everyone closed their eyes and kept retreating. Because the aura was too terrifying, and the light was too intense, no one dared to look at it. Some people did not think much of it and wanted to look, but their eyes bled and were almost blinded. Rumble! A terrifying sound rang out, and countless rays of light landed on the White Bone Mountain. The earth trembled, and the sky was torn apart. The sword chi was like a rainbow, piercing through the clouds. The golden sun was even more resplendent, flickering with a dazzling light. It was like a real sun, releasing terrifying heat waves. The two forces collided intensely, as if two ancient demonic mountains had collided, causing the entire space to tremble. Boom! Another intense collision. The entire White Bone Mountain seemed to have been overturned, and countless people were sent flying. Then, the two figures staggered and confronted each other again. The countless rays of light in the sky gradually disappeared, and the thunderous sound also gradually faded. There was a huge crack above everyone's heads that was thousands of miles long. At this moment, it was slowly healing, as if a peerless ferocious beast had closed its mouth. Lin Xian stood with his sword in hand. He was like a sword immortal, unstoppable. Chapter 984. In this exchange, the two of them were evenly matched and were evenly matched. Everyone was stunned. The attack just now was too terrifying. It was beyond their imagination. Countless people exclaimed. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. His strength was definitely not inferior to Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the gatekeeper was also extremely brave and even displayed boundless demonic energy. Who is this gatekeeper? Why doesn't he look like a human? Yeah, the demonic energy on his body is too strong. Could it be that he's a demonic beast? Everyone discussed animatedly. Their eyes were filled with fear and doubt because the gatekeeper was too powerful. His entire body was emitting golden light like a golden god of war. Moreover, the demonic energy on his body was too terrifying. It was not weaker than a golden demonic beast at all. For a moment, everyone was guessing the gatekeeper's identity. I know, it's actually him. Finally, someone exclaimed with a face full of shock. Tell us. Don't keep us in suspense. Tell us quickly. Someone was anxious. You guessed right. He's indeed not a human, but a demon. However, he's not a demonic beast, but a demon. Demon? Everyone's faces were full of shock. Their mouths were wide open in disbelief. That's right, he's a demon. Moreover, he's a powerhouse from the Golden Crow tribe. The Golden Crow tribe was known as the Sun tribe. They had a powerful fire attribute physique and were considered a large tribe among the demons. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the figure in front of them to be a Golden Crow. If he was from the Golden Crow tribe, did that mean that the other two gatekeepers were also demons? Everyone was shocked and gasped. They did not expect the three gatekeepers to have such a background. The demons were an extremely powerful tribe. Not only did they have the physique of a demonic beast, but they also had the intelligence of a human. They could be said to be extremely powerful. The Golden Crow tribe. What a powerful physique. What a powerful fire attribute. Lin Xian stared at the golden figure in front of him and muttered to himself. Jin Yu's expression was also solemn. He looked at Lin Xian with flickering eyes. Your strength is beyond my expectations. Looks like you're worthy of my serious attack. He spoke coldly. His entire body merged into the golden sun. His entire body emitted dazzling light, making him look like a golden god of war. On the surface of his body, golden flames burned fiercely. The terrifying heat was incomparably vast. If it were to explode, it would be enough to burn the entire White Bone Mountain into ashes. You are very strong, but it is impossible for you to defeat me. Hearing this, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up into a cold smile. Then let's wait and see. Oomph! With a cold snort, the void exploded and terrifying flames spread in all directions. In the next moment, Jin Yu waved his arm and quickly formed a seal. A dazzling ray of light, shining with boundless multicolored light, ruthlessly pressed down on Lin Xian. Divine Sun Seal. This was an ultimate technique of the Golden Crow clan. It was said to be able to evolve into a real sun. Its power was incomparably terrifying, and it could be refined by martial artists. Once this terrifying divine seal appeared, it immediately caused a commotion in all directions. All the disciples were incomparably terrified, and their bodies could not stop trembling. With the divine sun seal in his hand, Jin Yu charged towards Lin Xian as fast as a golden flash. Lin Xian's expression was cold and fearless. He let out a long roar and his black hair fluttered. His entire person became incomparably fierce. The Lone Star sword in his hand released a sword light. It was as unfathomable as the sea of stars. In the next moment, he quickly swung his sword and slashed out a shocking sword light. Boom! The terrifying sword light streaked across the void and ruthlessly collided with the divine sun seal. Instantly, the sky was torn apart again, and the terrifying energy annihilated everything. This scene was extremely shocking. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed, and it made everyone despair. With a furious roar, the golden light in the sky shone brightly, quickly forming a huge golden crow phantom that filled the sky. Accompanied by the golden crow phantom, Jin Yu quickly pounced over. An incomparable light bloomed in his hand as he charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian also roared angrily, and his voice shook the 9 heavens. He was like a god fiend, full of killing intent. On the Lone Star sword, there was a dragon-shaped sword chi that was extremely powerful. The two of them kept exchanging blows. Every blow caused the ground to sink and the sky to split open. This was a catastrophe. Countless terrifying cracks appeared in the sky, as if a mirror had been shattered. It was a shocking sight. The ground was even sunk, and a bottomless pit appeared. Seeing that the entire White Bone Mountain was about to sink, at the critical moment, a low roar came from underground. Then, an inexplicable force gushed out and enveloped the entire White Bone Mountain. It was this mysterious force that protected the White Bone Mountain and the safety of everyone. Otherwise, everything would have been turned into ashes by the attacks of the two of them. Essence of the sun, golden crow illuminating the sky. Jin Yu shouted coldly. His entire body shone with endless rays of light. Behind him, the wings formed by the golden light gradually solidified and turned into golden feathers. At the same time, metallic scales appeared on his body. In the sky, the huge golden crow phantom also solidified. It was as if a peerless, ferocious beast was rapidly awakening. The huge golden crow was like the sun, burning fiercely. When it spread its wings, it brought an endless sea of fire that burned in all directions. In the next moment, Jin Yu carried the sun god's seal and attacked Lin Xian together with the golden crow phantom above. Lin Xian held the Lone Star sword in his right hand and waved out countless terrifying sword chi. His left hand kept changing as he used the vermilion bird seal. The blood-red sword chi surged, bringing with it a monstrous killing aura. It was as if countless rivers of blood were flowing in the sky. In his left hand, a vermilion bird rushed out quickly. Its cry shook heaven and earth, bringing with it endless heat waves that surged into the sky. Two scenes exploded from Lin Xian's hands at the same time. It was extremely terrifying, as if it could destroy everything. All kinds of terrifying scenes collided together. Endless energy fell in all directions. The sky was even more tattered, like a mirror that kept shattering. Endless energy converged in the sky, constantly devouring and annihilating each other. They were in a stalemate. Lin Xian was shocked. As expected of the gatekeeper, he was extremely powerful. He had already activated the great dragon sword soul to the extreme. Although he stabbed the huge golden crow phantom, he did not cut Jin Yu's real body. This was the first person who could take his great dragon sword chi head-on. Jin Yu's body was surrounded by golden light. His face could not be seen clearly, but in fact he was extremely shocked. His opponent's sword chi was too sharp. It was as if it could split heaven and earth. It had supreme offensive power. As a golden crow, he was incomparably powerful and had the protection of the golden crow phantom. That was why he was not cut by the sword chi. Otherwise, if it was another person, they would have already died under the sword chi. Where did this young man come from? Although he is not famous, his strength is so terrifying. Jin Yu was also shocked. He admitted that he had underestimated Lin Xian. Now, the strength that he had displayed was definitely not weaker than Dugu Outyen and the others. Chapter 985. Thinking of this, Jin Yu's expression turned cold, and the ferocious light in his eyes bloomed again. The divine sun seal in his hand dissipated and was replaced by a terrifying flame. Within the flame, a bright light gradually condensed. The blazing flame gradually solidified and appeared before everyone's eyes. It was a huge golden machete completely formed by the most powerful flames. It was dozens of feet long and was extremely terrifying. Could this be the Golden Crow tribe's ultimate skill, the solar golden flame blade? Someone cried out in alarm. His voice was filled with fear. This was definitely a very powerful killing move. It was cultivated from the Golden Crow tribe's origin crystal core and could be said to be extremely powerful. It was said to be able to kill a powerhouse one level higher than oneself. At this moment, the other party had used such a terrifying move. It was obvious that he wanted to finish off Lin Xian. Oh no, this solar golden flame blade is too terrifying. I'm afraid Lin Xian won't be able to withstand it. Damn it, how could he have mastered such a terrifying cultivation technique? I read in ancient books that although this cultivation technique is the Golden Crow tribe's ultimate skill, very few people can master it. I didn't expect this guardian to have mastered it. Could it be that Lin Xian is going to lose? Please don't. For a moment, everyone was anxious as they discussed animatedly. Everyone had a nervous expression on their faces. This was a crucial battle. They could not lose, or else they would lose the chance to enter the demon blood pool. In the sky, Jin Yu held the solar golden flame blade and became extremely fierce. He was like a god of death as the huge flaming blade was aimed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He could sense a strong sense of danger from the flaming golden saber. This blade formed by golden flames was too terrifying. The energy it contained was something he had never seen before in his life. He did not dare to be careless. He took a deep breath and his body emitted a dazzling sword light. He quickly channeled the great dragon sword soul and raised his combat strength to the limit. At the same time, a layer of bright red armor covered his body. On the armor, there was a scarlet lotus flower that was blooming with a demonic light and swaying constantly. Lin Xian held the Lone Star sword in his hand, and he quickly swung it, sending out streaks of sword light. In the next moment, a massive sword image appeared in the sky. The sword shadow was blue in color and emitted a terrifying chill. There was an ice lotus engraved on the sword as if it could freeze everything in the world. At the crucial moment, Lin Xian executed the Earth rank martial art, Gale Lightning Sword Art. Furthermore, he even integrated the Ice Lotus martial spirit into it. That power was earth-shattering, as if it wanted to freeze the entire world. At this moment, Jin Yu also waved his arm and quickly descended. The solar golden flame saber shone brightly. Mysterious patterns appeared on its surface, and all sorts of strange phenomena appeared around him. Above the void, a golden crow appeared. It spread its wings and soared into the sky. Its golden aura shone brightly as it tore apart the heavens and the earth. Then, it pounced towards Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying golden crow shadow streaked across the sky with a sea of fire. Everywhere it passed, everything was burned. The heat was terrifying and boundless, as if it wanted to burn everything. Everyone was shocked and did not dare to imagine. This saber was too terrifying. Even a fourth heaven venerable realm cultivator would not be able to withstand it. Lin Xian was also shocked. He let out a low shout and quickly activated the Gale Lightning Sword Art. In the sky, the massive blue ice sword was swung, bringing with it an endless sea of blue light as it slashed forward. In the sky, the dazzling golden sun was slashed by the huge black sword, and it shook continuously. Endless light shone. Jin Yu, who was in the center of the sun, trembled, and his eyes were filled with shock. Then, an even more dazzling light burst out from his body, and it swept out in all directions. Jin Yu was too shocked. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. That terrifying pitch-black sword chi was actually able to extinguish his sun god fire and even threaten his safety. It seemed that it would not be easy to defeat his opponent. With a roar, his arms moved quickly, and the solar golden flame saber in his hand became even more dazzling. The golden light danced, and it radiated even more terrifying energy. Lin Xian was even more ferocious. With the sword of nirvana in his hand, he brought with him a boundless aura of death and nirvana. He killed his way through the terrifying flames of the sun and arrived in front of Jin Yu. However, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat when he saw his opponent's calm and cold eyes. Oh no! His pupils shrank, and he used the illusory demon steps to retreat instantly. In the next moment, the golden crow shadow on the solar golden flame saber suddenly expanded, and then it exploded. Chapter 986. The explosion was too violent. It was as if a fourth-level venerable had self-destructed. The terrifying energy caused a black hole to appear in the sky. Looking at the boundless black hole, everyone fell into a daze. Deep fear appeared in their eyes. Even a fourth-level venerable wouldn't be able to withstand such a powerful explosion, let alone Lin Xian. It would be considered good if he didn't die. However, if Lin Xian was heavily injured and dying, they would lose this battle for sure. At that time, they would lose the qualification to enter the demon blood pool. At this moment, everyone looked at the sky nervously and prayed in their hearts. On the other side, Duge Outyin and Li Yunfei, who were fighting fiercely, also noticed the situation and frowned. Are we going to lose? They were unwilling to accept this outcome. Of course, they didn't have much resentment because the energy of the explosion made their hearts tremble. If it was any one of them, they wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being blasted away. In the immortal martial academy, the entire true martial lake was silent. Everyone looked at the light screen in the sky and was extremely nervous. A few elders also frowned and their eyes flickered. Demon-slaying realm, White Bone Mountain. The huge black hole in the sky covered the entire sky. It was pitch black as if it wanted to devour everything. Even after so long, no one saw Lin Xian's figure. Just when they were in despair, a sudden scream pierced through the sky and broke the deathly silence. Hearing this scream, everyone was stunned because they realized that the one who screamed wasn't Lin Xian but Jin Yu. What's going on? Wasn't Lin Xian the one who was surrounded by the explosion? Why is Jin Yu the one who screamed in anger? Everyone didn't understand. However, they were extremely excited. Looking at this scene, it seemed like there was a chance for the situation to turn around. As long as Lin Xian didn't lose, everything was fine. Soon, the violent energy in the sky quickly dissipated, and two figures appeared. Not only that, there were traces of blood mist in the air. Lin Xian was bleeding from the corner of his mouth and his face was pale. He was severely injured. On the other side, Jin Yu was even worse off. His face was incomparably distorted, and there was a huge sword scar on his back that almost split him in half. The two of them stared at each other, emitting a terrifying killing intent. They wanted nothing more than to tear each other apart. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to injure his opponent in such a critical situation. This was simply inconceivable. In fact, Lin Xian had indeed been struck by the terrifying energy. Fortunately, he was wearing the Red Lotus battle armor and was extremely fast. In other words, the terrifying explosion only affected him and did not truly engulf him. Not only that, he even used Bloody's clone from Bloody's inheritance to create an advantageous opportunity. He got his clone to stay in the storm while his real body went behind Goldfeather to deliver a fatal blow. However, the other party was also quite impressive. He actually noticed it at the last moment, so this sword strike only heavily injured the other party and did not cut him in half. "Brat, you dare to injure me? I'll kill you!" Jin Yu roared ferociously, his voice shaking the surroundings. The other two groups, the Spirit Feather race and the Giant race, were all stunned. They didn't expect Jin Yu to be heavily injured. Dugu Aotian laughed loudly. "How is it? I said that this brat will definitely exceed your imagination. Now you know." With a cold snort, the Spirit Feather race expert unleashed an even more terrifying attack. Below, Jin Yu roared ferociously like an injured beast. It was extremely terrifying. Balls of golden light quickly enveloped him, and golden flames came to his back and quickly healed his wounds. On the other side, Lin Xian was also quickly circulating the longevity art to heal his injuries. Both of them were injured and were racing against time to recover quickly. This time, whoever could seize the initiative would have a great chance of winning. Everyone held their breaths and watched nervously. Although it seemed that Jin Yu's injuries were more serious, his recovery speed was also extremely terrifying. Now, they could only pray that Lin Xian could recover first. Otherwise, the situation would be very dangerous. In the next moment, Lin Xian moved. His black hair fluttered as he let out a long roar. The longevity art in his body quickly circulated, displaying an extremely powerful vitality. A ball of jade-green light flowed on his body, healing his injuries by more than half. He held the Lone Star sword in his hand and walked forward step by step. This time, he had to defeat his opponent. Rumble! Sword chi surged and circled around him. Countless pillars of sword chi surged out, connecting heaven and earth and filling the entire void. All the sword chi rumbled and turned into true dragons, roaring in all directions. Terrifying light illuminated the entire sky. Seeing the figure quickly approaching, Jin Yu's pupils constricted and his heart beat wildly. His face was gloomy as he gritted his teeth and roared. Golden Crow Descent. Golden light shone on his body and quickly surged out. A huge golden crow phantom appeared behind him. It seemed to be condensed from gold and was incomparably dazzling. The golden crow phantom flapped its wings, forming an endless sea of fire that protected Jinyu. This was his demon soul, similar to a human's martial soul. However, his demon soul was more powerful than his martial soul because it also contained the bloodline power of the Golden Crow tribe. The terrifying golden sun from before was condensed from the flames emitted by the demon soul. At this moment, the Golden Crow demon soul was fully displayed. Its power was absolutely terrifying. After displaying the Golden Crow demon soul, Jinyu became fierce again. He made use of the Golden Crow demon soul to release endless light, forming a fiery field that resisted the endless sword chi of his opponent. The two majestic forces collided once again, and then they were quickly annihilated. At the same time, he clenched his fist and formed the solar golden flame saber again. However, this time, the saber was more solid. In the golden light, there was a ball of purple flame. Although it was weak, the power that it exuded was extremely terrifying. This time, Jinyu had displayed his demon soul and the solar golden flame saber, the unique skill of the Golden Crow tribe. It could be said that he had reached the extreme. In the next moment, he roared ferociously and raised the fiery saber above his head with both hands. He then slashed down. Solar golden flame slash. In the sky, the saber flashed. The golden light was like eternal starlight, extremely dazzling. In the next moment, a dazzling golden saber flashed across the sky and slashed down quickly. Lin Xian also let out a long roar. The great dragon sword soul in his body surged and was pushed to the extreme. He was just short of displaying it. Although he did not display it, the power was extremely terrifying. One should know that the great dragon sword soul was an offensive saint arc between heaven and earth. Now that it was activated by Lin Xian, its attack power was extremely strong. Not only that, Lin Xian also displayed the Ice Lotus martial soul. The terrifying ice chi shrouded the surroundings. The two forces merged. Lin Xian was like a sword, extremely powerful. They flapped behind his back, bringing with them a scorching aura. At this moment, Jinyu's aura and strength had reached the peak. When the surrounding warriors saw this, they were all shocked. They didn't expect Jinyu to be able to increase his strength at this time, and by such a large margin. For a moment, everyone was worried for Lin Xian again. If Lin Xian didn't have a powerful trump card, he probably wouldn't be able to resist this final trump card. In the distance, the experts of the Spiritual Feather Clan and the Giant Clan felt the scorching energy and were shocked. They naturally knew that Jinyu was going to use his final trump card. Is he going to fight it out? The two of them were solemn. Looks like you're going to lose, the Spiritual Feather Clan expert said coldly. The expert of the Spiritual Feather Clan said coldly. He and Dugu Outyin exchanged a blow, and then the two of them separated in the void. Isn't it too early to say that? Dugu Outyin shook his head. It's not early. The demon soul of our demon clan is different from that of you humans. It contains a powerful bloodline power. As an expert of the Golden Crow clan, Jinyu's bloodline power is even more terrifying. If that kid doesn't have any heaven-defying means, he definitely won't be able to withstand this attack. Looks like it's really going to end. On the other side, the expert of the Giant Rock clan also said, it's useless even if the two of you are tied. If that kid loses, this battle will be over. Hearing this, Li Yunfei also frowned. However, he couldn't help much at this moment. This battle had to be resolved by Lin Xian himself. Everyone's expression was solemn, and even the elders frowned again. There was no other way. Jinyu's demon soul was too powerful. It contained the bloodline power of the Golden Crow clan, and could be said to be incomparably powerful. At this moment, Jinyu was like a sun god, shining with golden light, valiant and valiant. He looked at Lin Xian with cold eyes. In the next moment, his palms moved quickly. He raised them high above his head, and then formed a strange seal. The bloodline power in his body surged, and terrifying flames danced. They quickly flowed into his palms, and together with the seal, they formed the shape of a treasure bottle. The treasure bottle was completely gold, and there were strange engravings on it. It was completely formed by flames. At this moment, the mouth of the golden treasure bottle was slightly facing down, aiming at Lin Xian. Feeling the change in his opponent, Lin Xian's heart raced. The bloodline power of the Golden Crow clan was indeed powerful. He took a deep breath, and his eyes shone brightly. Jin Yu's demon soul fusion was much more powerful than a human's. No wonder he was from the demon clan. He indeed had a unique advantage. It seemed that he couldn't hold back anymore. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian's eyes became calm. In the next moment, he withdrew his Ice Lotus martial soul, and at the same time, he sheathed his Lone Star sword. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They didn't understand what Lin Xian was trying to do. Even the elders of the Immortal Martial Academy were puzzled. Din Xian's eyes narrowed, and she stared at the figure in the sky in silence. In the demon-slaying world, Jin Yu saw Lin Xian's actions, and he laughed out loud. Haha, kid, did you feel that you couldn't resist the power of my bloodline? Is that why you want to surrender and admit defeat? Chapter 988. Jin Yu's laughter reverberated in the surroundings. The surrounding cultivators all had ugly expressions as despair appeared in their eyes. Could it be that Lin Xian was really going to give up? But if that wasn't the case, why did he put away his martial soul and the half-earth step artifact? Lin Xian didn't explain anything to Jin Yu's arrogant laughter and the crowd's confusion. He revolved the great dragon sword soul within his body, and his eyes became sharp once more. Sword chi surged out from his body, causing the surrounding space to distort and become chaotic. It was as if something terrifying was about to appear, and even the void couldn't withstand its pressure. In the next moment, a heaven-shaking dragon's roar resounded from Lin Xian's body. Then, 3 feet in front of him, a terrifying crack appeared and a true dragon roared out. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the azure dragon's whiskers coiled and then turned into a long sword. The hilt of the sword was formed from a dragon's head while the body of the sword was formed from a true dragon's body. The entire sword had a strange shape and carried with it an ancient aura. Of course, compared to this, the most terrifying thing was the pressure. It was as if a real true dragon had awoken. It was terrifying to the extreme. Seeing the azure dragon sword shadow, everyone was stunned. That was because the aura contained within it was too terrifying, making everyone feel endlessly shocked. Their bodies trembled, and they wanted to prostrate themselves in worship. What is that? It's so terrifying. The surrounding cultivators paled and retreated. Although this power made them feel uncomfortable, they were all excited. This was because this was a move that Lin Xian had used. They didn't think that Lin Xian would have such a terrifying trump card. With such a terrifying move, it would definitely be able to resist the other party's monster soul. The 3 gatekeepers had ugly expressions. The powerhouses from the Spirit Feather race and the Giant race all had solemn expressions as they stared at the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow, their hearts trembling. The aura emitted by the azure dragon sword shadow was enough to threaten their lives. They didn't think that their opponent would have such a terrifying move. Jin Yu's expression was even uglier. He was even closer to the azure dragon sword shadow. From the moment it appeared, his eyelids twitched and an inexplicable fear rose in his heart. This was a fear that came from his soul and bloodline. It wasn't something he could control. Damn it, what the hell is this thing? How can it make me feel fear? Impossible. This is impossible. He kept shaking his head, and there was a hint of madness in his expression. But the more it was like this, the more his body trembled. In the Immortal Martial Academy, several elders had heavy expressions on their faces as they stared at the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow. What a terrifying aura. What exactly is that sword shadow? The elders looked at each other. Sword spirit, that's his martial spirit. At this moment, Senior Xian's voice was steady as he spat out 2 words. What? Martial spirit? The elders were stunned when they heard this. Then they exclaimed, that's impossible. Isn't his martial soul the Ice Lotus? Seeing that Headmaster Xian didn't say anything else, the elders were shocked. Could it be that he has dual martial spirits? Although twin martial spirits were rare, they existed in this world. There were records of twin martial spirits appearing in history, and each one of them was a terrifying figure. These elders wouldn't doubt the existence of twin martial spirits. Since Headmaster Xian said that the sword shadow was a martial spirit, then it must be a martial spirit. And the ice lotus that Lin Xian displayed earlier was also a real martial spirit. Therefore, in their opinion, Lin Xian must be a twin martial spirit cultivator. Thinking of this, the elders' faces flushed red, and their breathing quickened. Ha! Who would have thought that he really has twin martial spirits? Who would have thought that our immortal martial academy would have such a peerless genius? They were too happy. Who would have thought that Lin Xian's talent would be so high? Not only that azure dragon-shaped sword shadow was too terrifying. It definitely surpassed the ice lotus martial spirit. Such a martial spirit was definitely rare in the world. Headmaster Xian didn't care about the excited elders. He squinted his eyes, and stars flickered in his pupils as he stared at the dragon-shaped sword shadow in the air. He didn't know why, but when he looked at the sword shadow, he thought of an ancient legend. Before this, he thought that the legend was made up by the ancient people. But now, he was shaken. This was because he realized that the azure dragon sword intent displayed by Lin Xian seemed to be very similar to an ancient legend. However, he wasn't sure about this matter. He still needed to investigate it carefully. Is this the person I've been waiting for? Mysterious indeed. Headmaster Xian muttered to himself. Lin Xian didn't know that the dragon-shaped sword shadow would cause such a huge commotion. At this moment he slowly stretched out his hand and grasped the azure dragon-shaped sword shadow. The moment he clenched his fist, another loud and clear dragon roar was heard. Then, an invisible pressure surged out quickly, like a wave, instantly filling the entire Demon Slayer's world. At this moment, everyone's face turned pale, and they were trembling. In the entire demon-slaying world, all the demonic beasts were prostrating on the ground, their bodies trembling non-stop. In a few forbidden golden nests, those mature golden demonic beasts were roaring uneasily. They couldn't resist the formless pressure at all. As if they were worshipping a supreme king, all the demonic beasts in the demon-slaying world knelt down towards the White Bone Mountain. The experts of the spiritual feather race and the giant race were also scared. Their faces turned extremely ugly. That aura made them feel uncomfortable. Jin Yu's face was even darker. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead, and his entire body was soaked in sweat. This pressure was too terrifying. He felt like he couldn't resist it. Impossible! This is impossible! He screamed crazily in his heart. He couldn't believe that everything in front of him was caused by his opponent. Just the pressure from the sword shadow was too much for him to bear. In the next moment, his pupils shrank because he saw that Lin Xian had slowly raised the dragon-shaped sword shadow and aimed it at him. In an instant, his heart beat violently as if it was going to jump out of his body. At the same time, he felt like he was on the verge of death. This made his entire body feel extremely cold. This feeling was very uncomfortable. It was something he had never felt before. However, he didn't doubt that if his opponent slashed down with that sword, it would definitely take his life. I admit defeat. Jin Yu didn't dare to joke around with his life. He could only hurriedly speak. As his voice rang out, there was an uproar. The surrounding cultivators were all stunned. They didn't expect that instead of seeing the stunning sword, they would be waiting for Jin Yu to admit defeat. However, when they thought about it, they understood. The dragon-shaped sword shadow was too mysterious and too terrifying. Just the pressure alone was enough to split their bodies. It was a wise choice for Jin Yu to admit defeat. Lin Xian was also very surprised when he heard that Jin Yu had admitted defeat. However, he still nodded slightly. In the next moment, he circulated his spiritual energy and withdrew the great dragon sword's soul back into his body. The moment the great dragon sword's soul disappeared, Jin Yu heaved a sigh of relief. His heart also calmed down. Chapter 989. No one would have thought that the battle between Lin Xian and Jin Yu would end with Jin Yu admitting defeat. Before this, they had imagined countless scenarios. They even imagined that Lin Xian would go all out and fight to a draw with his opponent. However, they didn't expect the Guardian to admit defeat. Not only did the crowd not expect this, even the two experts from the Spirit Feather Tribe and the Giant Tribe didn't expect this. They sighed and shook their heads. They knew that Jin Yu had his reasons for saying this. They had a certain understanding of Jin Yu and knew that he was an extremely conceited person. Even the expert from the Spirit Feather tribe couldn't make him submit. Now that Jin Yu had admitted defeat, it meant that he couldn't withstand the sword. He didn't even have the slightest confidence. Only in this way could Jin Yu willingly admit defeat. Thinking of this, the two guardians were shocked. Their strength was on par with Jin Yu. Since Jin Yu couldn't withstand the sword, they wouldn't be able to withstand it either. They didn't expect that such a terrifying expert would appear among the humans. At this moment, on the White Bone Mountain, all the disciples of the Immortal Martial Academy were looking at Lin Xian. Their eyes were filled with excitement. In the end, they couldn't help but shouting Lin Xian's name. "Is this the junior brother Lin I know? Too powerful. Too powerful." Su Yu and the rest felt as if they were dreaming. This kid hid his strength really well. I didn't expect him to have the strength to defeat the Guardian. The twin demons of Black and White couldn't help but praise. They looked at Lin Xian with admiration in their eyes. One had to know that the two of them were arrogant people. They didn't even submit to Li Yunfei and the rest. But now, they were full of admiration for Lin Xian. It couldn't be helped. The last sword was too terrifying. Although it didn't slash out, the aura it exuded was enough to intimidate everyone. Didn't they see that the powerful guardian, Jin Yu, had admitted defeat? Murong Qingchen looked at that tall and straight figure in the sky, a faint smile appearing on the corner of her mouth. She knew that Lin Xian would win in the end because she believed in him. Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei also stopped fighting and looked at Lin Xian. The two of them nodded slightly. Duge Outyan revealed a bright smile. "Junior brother Lin, good job. You are very strong." "I take back what I said before," Li Yunfei said seriously. Not only the demon realm, the entire Immortal Martial Academy was in a state of celebration. Near the true martial lake, Lin Xian's name was being chanted by everyone. It shook the 9 heavens, and several elders were also extremely excited. They were constantly praising him. Din Xian looked at the figure in the sky and nodded her head in satisfaction. At this moment, Lin Xian had become the idol of the Immortal Martial Academy, a character who stood at the pinnacle like Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei. Lin Xian could feel the cheers and adoration coming from all directions, and he revealed a satisfied smile. He exhaled heavily, and a smile appeared on his pale face. Although he didn't manage to slash out in the end, summoning the great dragon sword soul had consumed a lot of his strength. Fortunately, he won in the end. My mission has been completed. The rest is up to the two seniors. Lin Xian raised his head and smiled at the two figures in the distance. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei smiled as well. Lin Xian's victory allowed them to completely relax. As for their battle, although they didn't have 100% certainty of winning, it was too easy for them to fight to a draw. One must know that they had fought with each other more than once. Hence, they were very clear about the strength of both sides. It was very normal for them to fight to a draw. Moreover, they didn't plan to drag it on any longer. For a moment, Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei both used their full strength and fought with their opponents again. Boom! All kinds of terrifying lights once again enveloped the sky. Lin Xian glanced at the two of them indifferently, then turned and flew down. He knew that there was no suspense in this battle. As long as Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei didn't go easy, a draw would happen sooner or later. Seeing Lin Xian flying over, everyone cheered again. Lin Xian smiled and waved at them. Then he landed on the ground. "How are you? Are you hurt?" Murong Qingqing's figure flashed and arrived beside Lin Xian. "I'm fine. I just used up a lot of energy," Lin Xian said with a smile. Next, Lin Xian took out spiritual wine and spiritual pills from his storage ring and quickly consumed them to recover the spiritual power in his body. Then he raised his head and looked at the sky. The battle in the sky was abnormally fierce. It wasn't inferior to his previous battle at all. The terrifying energy fluctuations made him extremely shocked. Duge Outyan and Li Yunfei were worthy of being the top influential figures. The two of them were very powerful. After a fierce collision, the powerhouses of the Spiritual Feather Race and Giant Rock Race also retreated. "There's no need to continue fighting," the Spiritual Feather Race powerhouse said coldly. If we continue fighting, it will only be a draw. Why don't we stop here? But Duge Outyin also withdrew his long sword. On the other side, Li Yunfei and the powerhouses of the giant rock race also stopped fighting. Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. Then they became excited again. A draw. 2 draws. In addition to Lin Xian's victory, they had passed the final challenge. In other words, they had completed the Guardian's challenge and could enter the final demon blood pool. Thinking of this, everyone shouted excitedly. Their hard work for so long was finally not in vain. Of course, all of this was thanks to 3 people. They were Lin Xian, Duge Outyin, and Li Yunfei. In an instant, their names were shouted by everyone. Their voices spread throughout the entire demon-slaying world. At this moment, Lin Xian and the other 2 became the heroes of the Immortal Martial Academy. And Lin Xian also relied on this battle to successfully become the top figure of the Immortal Martial Academy. He was no longer an ordinary new student. Instead, he was a top genius like Duge Outyin and Li Yunfei. Looking at the deafening cheers, the 3 spiritual feather race powerhouses said coldly, "You have passed the final challenge. This is the reward you deserve." Then, a golden light shot out from the spiritual feather race's bullet towards Duge Outyin. And Jin Yu from the giant rock race and the golden crow race also shot out rays of light towards Li Yunfei and Lin Xian. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and caught the golden light in the air. Then he opened his palm. He discovered that it was a golden demon core. Chapter 990. Lin Xian smiled slightly. With a flip of his palm, he took out 2 more demon cores. One of them was the demon core of the gold demon beast that he killed, while the other was a demon core that emitted a faint golden light. These 2 demon cores added together, the energy was about the same as the one in Lin Xian's hand. So Lin Xian gave these 2 demon cores to Murong Qingqing. Seeing this scene, everyone opened their eyes wide, not daring to believe it. They did not expect that Lin Xian actually still had 2 gold demon cores in his hands, and even gave them away. Even Li Yunfei and Duge Outyin were slightly surprised too. Although they knew that Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing's relationship was not shallow, these gold demon cores were very precious. This was related to the good fortune of the demon blood pool. That kind of temptation was probably not something that anyone could give up. But now Lin Xian gave them away without the slightest hesitation. Murong Qingqing revealed a beautiful smile and extended her lily-white hand, putting down those 2 gold demon cores. Her smile was like a flower, and Lin Xian's figure was reflected in her eyes. Lin Xian smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose. "Don't look at me like that. These demon cores are something that you deserve." Pumph. Murong Qingqing snorted lightly and wrinkled her cute nose. Then she shot a glance at Lin Xian. In that gaze, there was a different kind of flirtatious look. On the entire white bone, everyone was abnormally excited because they could enter the demon blood pool very soon. However, they did not act rashly. Instead, they patiently waited for Lin Xian trio to recover their strength. Half a day later, Lin Xian, Duge Outyin, and Li Yunfei opened their eyes, then slowly stood up. Following the 3 people's actions, the surrounding martial artists' hearts also gradually became excited, because they knew that the final moment was finally coming. Duge Outyin stood up, swept his gaze around, and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, I believe that everyone has been waiting for a long time. Then let's go to the demon blood pool now." Hearing this voice, the surrounding cultivators' emotions completely exploded, and they all cheered to their heart's content. Duge Outyin and Li Yunfei soared into the sky and flew toward the back of the White Bone Mountain. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth also curled up slightly. He flew into the sky side by side with Murong Qingqing. Behind him, the twin ghosts of Black and White, Su Yueshua, and the others followed closely behind. After Lin Xian and the other 2 made their move, the surrounding cultivators also made their moves. Spiritual energy radiated from their bodies, covering the sky and earth as they flew forward. For a moment, the entire void was illuminated. The sound of wind whistling could be heard, and the scene was extremely spectacular. Very quickly, Lin Xian and the others crossed the huge White Bone Mountain and arrived at the back of the mountain. He looked at the scenery downwind and froze. How was this a demonic blood pool? This was simply a gigantic lake. Below, there was an incomparably huge lake surrounded by mountains. The lake water was incomparably blood-red, as if it was fresh blood, emitting an astonishing amount of energy. This is the demon blood pool? It's indeed extraordinary. Just feeling this aura makes me feel comfortable all over, Lin Xian exclaimed. This demon blood pool is very magical. It's said that after an unimaginably powerful demon king died, it evolved from all the blood in his body. It contains indescribable power, Duge Outyan said from the side. Then he turned around and said to everyone again, the demon cores in your hands determine the time you can stay in the demon blood pool. I hope that you'll make good use of your own situation and not miss this opportunity. Alright, let's go in now. After saying that, he took the lead and turned into a sword gleam, instantly disappearing into the huge blood-red lake below. Li Yunfei's figure also floated like a banished immortal, quickly descending. Lin Xian and the others did not delay any longer and flew down. At this time, the dark red divine dragon also sent a voice transmission. Kid, the demon blood pool is probably quite useful to me. Hearing that, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Needless to say, the dark red divine dragon's function was extremely profound. It had mastered extremely profound formations. However, with its cultivation that had just advanced into the Exalt realm, there were too many profound formations that it was unable to utilize. If the demon blood pool was able to allow it to recover some of its strength, then it would be extremely beneficial to Lin Xian in the future. How many demon cores do you need? I'll give them to you, Lin Xian said. No need. The demon cores are prepared for you humans. I'm a divine beast myself, so I don't fear the demonic aura in the demon blood pool at all. That's true, I forgot. Lin Xian patted his head. In that case, you can recover to your heart's content. The two conversed, and then Lin Xian disappeared into the huge blood-red lake. As soon as Lin Xian entered, he felt a dense demonic aura that was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the golden demon core in his hand released a wave of energy that quickly blocked the demonic aura. Then he felt a pure energy surrounding him. As long as he was willing to absorb it, the energy would immediately fuse into his body and transform into pure spiritual power. As expected of the demon blood pool. It's really magical. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Then, he and Murong Qingqing each found a place to sit cross-legged and quickly absorb the energy around them. Not only that, Lin Xian even released the dark red divine dragon, the snow-white little monkey, the golden-feathered mystical eagle, and little gold to let them absorb the energy in the demon blood pool. Since they were all demonic beasts, they did not need demon cores to enter the demon blood pool. In an instant, the huge demon blood pool was filled with figures. Every warrior looked excited as they circulated the mystic arts in their bodies to quickly absorb the energy in the demon blood pool. The dark red divine dragon was even more excited. It was like a swimming dragon that swam around the entire demon blood pool. It used some unknown secret technique to quickly absorb the energy. Time passed slowly. Half a day later, many warriors left the demon blood pool because the demon cores in their hands could not support them to continue absorbing the energy. If they forced themselves to stay in the demon blood pool, their bodies would probably be torn apart by the ferocious demonic aura. A day later, even more warriors left. However, these people looked excited. It seemed that they were quite satisfied with their harvest. Chapter 991. Lin Xian closed his eyes and quickly activated the longevity art. At that moment, he had broken through the third firmament of the Venerable Realm and reached the fourth firmament of the Venerable Realm. It had to be said that the speed of his breakthrough was too fast. Of course, it had to do with his hard work. One had to know that before this, he had experienced countless soul-stirring battles, which was why he had obtained this precious opportunity. Moreover, the longevity art in his body was also extraordinary and mysterious. Its effect was much better than other people's cultivation methods. The speed of absorption and transformation was also terrifying. At that moment, Lin Xian had reached the 4th firmament of the Venerable Realm and was charging towards the 5th firmament. After reaching the 4th firmament of the Venerable Realm, the rapid improvement slowed down because the energy required to go from the 4th firmament to the 5th firmament of the Venerable Realm was more than the previous 4 firmament combined. This also proved that the 9th firmament of the Venerable Realm was harder to cultivate. However, Lin Xian did not want to let go of this opportunity. He recalled that there was still an energy ball left behind by King Pillfeather in the mysterious dagger. Therefore, he wanted to absorb the two energies together and see if he could break through to the 5th firmament of the Venerable Realm. He separated a portion of his soul power and sent it into the mysterious dagger. He wanted to pull out the energy ball left behind by King Pillfeather. However, in the next moment, before he could touch the energy ball, the black Thousand Beast Cauldron suddenly trembled. The Thousand Beast Cauldron trembled violently and emitted a black light. On the cauldron, strange beasts quickly swam as if they were alive. This phenomenon directly alarmed Lin Xian. He did not expect the Thousand Beast Cauldron to change at this time. However, before he could react, the black light on the cauldron spun rapidly and formed a black vortex. In the next moment, a terrifying devouring power surged out and quickly spread in all directions, absorbing the energy in the pool of blood. Soon, the entire demon blood pool surged rapidly. Endless blood surged and gathered towards Lin Xian. This phenomenon was very weak at first, but it became more and more intense. In the end, even Murong Qingqing, Duge Outyen, and the others were alarmed. They all opened their eyes and withdrew from their cultivation to look at this scene in shock. What? This Lin Xian is crazy. Li Yunfei's expression was grave. It was likely that no one would be able to withstand such a rate of absorption. Dugu Outyen was also stunned. He could not understand why Lin Xian would be so impulsive. Murong Qingqing was even more surprised. She couldn't help but want to go up and interrupt. Fortunately, Lin Xian sent her a voice transmission to let her know that everything was fine. Hearing Lin Xian's voice, Murong Qingqing felt relieved. If a cultivator were to absorb so much energy at once, they would likely explode and die. However, Lin Xian was different. Although the energy surged into his body, it was not absorbed by him. Instead, it flowed into the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. Therefore, he was only a medium in the middle of the journey and was not in much danger. Moreover, the cleansing of this pure energy made his body even stronger. However, the commotion was getting louder and louder. Even the dark red dragon could not help but ask, "Kid, what the hell are you doing? This place is not normal. Don't act recklessly. If you alarm something extraordinary, it will be fun." Hearing this, the corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He quickly replied, "It's not me. It's the 10,000 Beast Cauldron. I can't do anything about it." He tried to use his soul power to control the 10,000 Beast Cauldron to interrupt the energy absorption. However, he realized that it was useless. Hearing that it was the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's doing, the dark red dragon did not say anything else. Instead, it absorbed even more frantically. It had a feeling that the 10,000 Beast Cauldron's actions would definitely attract some trouble. Sure enough, not long after, a low voice suddenly sounded from the bottom of the demon blood pool. Like a muffled thunderclap, the voice came from deep underground. Hearing this voice, everyone's hair stood on end. The dark red dragon was shocked. It quickly returned to Lin Xian's side with the snow-white monkey and the other two demon beasts. Then, with a whoosh, it entered the demon beast pouch. Dugu Outyen and the others opened their eyes again. Their eyes were filled with shock. They did not expect such a terrifying sound to come from the bottom of the demon blood pool. Just this voice alone was enough to cause their blood to boil and their bodies to almost split apart. In the next moment, a terrifying force came, instantly enveloping Lin Xian and pushing him up quickly. In an instant, Lin Xian and the others were pushed out by this force. Fortunately, this force was very gentle. It only pushed them out and did not cause them any harm. Outside, near the huge demon blood pool, everyone waited patiently. Suddenly, Qi Hao opened his eyes with a serious expression. "Are they coming out?" But this time shouldn't be. It's a little earlier than expected. The black-white double ghosts and the others were also puzzled. However, in the next moment, they saw 4 blood-red light pillars rushing out quickly. They were dozens of feet tall. Boundless blood fell, revealing 4 figures. They're coming out. Everyone stood up when they saw Lin Xian and the others. In the sky, Duga Outyen and the other 2 looked at Lin Xian with strange expressions. Murong Qingqing glanced at him and said with a sweet voice, "You brat, you always make things so dangerous. You make us worry for nothing." Lin Xian smiled bitterly and rubbed his nose. "Everyone, I'm sorry. I didn't expect there to be such a terrifying big guy in the demon blood pool. Forget it. It's only a little earlier anyway. Moreover, we've gained quite a lot this time." Dugu Outyan shrugged and did not say anything else. Li Yunfei also took a deep look at Lin Xian, then turned around and flew down. Lin Xian also sighed. Originally, he wanted to fuse the 2 forces together to break through to the 5th heaven of the Venerable Realm. He did not expect it to cause an abnormality in the Thousand Beast Cauldron. Damn that stupid cauldron. It caused such a big mess. Lin Xian cursed in his heart. He also pulled Murong Qingqing down. "What's going on? Why did you come out early?" Seeing Lin Xian and Li Yunfei land, the black-white double ghosts walked up. "It's nothing. There was a small accident," Lin Xian said. "Hey, you've broken through to the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm." Seeing that Lin Xian was unwilling to say more, the black-white double ghosts did not pursue the matter. Instead, they looked at him and exclaimed when they sensed his aura. Originally, they wanted to close the gap, but it seemed that the gap was getting wider and wider. The black-white double ghosts looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They had also broken through to the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. However, their auras were much weaker than Lin Xian's. Lin Xian's current aura was at least at the mid-4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. The black-white double ghosts looked around and realized that Murong Qingqing's aura was similar to Lin Xian's. Dugu Outyan and Li Yunfei's auras were even more terrifying. They were even stronger than Lin Xian's. In fact, this was very normal. The 2 of them had a higher cultivation than Lin Xian before. It was not a big deal that their cultivation was still higher. Qi Hao's ranking has dropped. He's now the 7th place. Seeing the changes in the rankings of these super powerhouses, the crowd cried out in surprise. This was because the top 10 of the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard were very special. Each of them was a super powerhouse. These people dominated the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard all year round and rarely had their rankings changed. Every change was accompanied by an extremely intense battle. Moreover, there weren't many challenges of this level. Therefore, there had never been such a huge change in the top 10 of the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. It's changed again. Murong Qingqing is now the 5th place. The crowd cried out in surprise. Sure enough, Murong Qingqing's name appeared above Jiang Yan's. She was now the 5th place. Although Murong Qingqing rarely made a move, everyone who had seen her in action was still shocked beyond words. Chapter 993. They were not unhappy that Murong Qingqing was ranked higher than them. Moreover, they did not plan to challenge Murong Qingqing again in the near future. Although the others had not seen Murong Qingqing in action, they knew that Murong Qingqing and Lin Xian had killed the gold-ranked demonic beast. That was a major event that was recorded in the history of the demon-slaying world. This was enough to make them 5th on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Where's Lin Xian? Just as the crowd was discussing and paying attention to the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard, someone raised this question. That's right, Lin Xian was so strong. His ranking would definitely be very high. Everyone turned their heads and looked carefully at the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Xian's name appeared in 3rd place. 3rd. Seeing Lin Xian appear in the 3rd place, everyone was in an uproar. Although they had already guessed that Lin Xian might make it to the top 3, they were still shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. The top 3 on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard were the most influential people. They were even more famous than the top 10. In the past, the 3rd place was Red Pagoda. However, he did not participate in the demon-slaying conference. Now, he had fallen to 4th place. The 3rd place on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was actually a new student. He was probably the youngest person in the history of the Immortal Martial Academy to be ranked third. Dugu Aoyan looked at Lin Xian and chuckled. Junior brother Lin, congratulations. Li Yunfei also nodded slightly and said, you deserve it. Thank you both, Lin Xian replied with a smile. He was not surprised by this ranking. However, Dugu Aoyan and Li Yunfei's names did not change, which disappointed him. He originally thought that he could pull one of them down. However, he did not plan to challenge them now. Third place on the Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was already very good. Moreover, he had exposed his great dragon sword soul in the previous challenge. Therefore, it was better not to make a move for the time being. He did not want others to know about all his trump cards. He would only be able to survive if he kept his trump cards hidden. Not long after, the new Mystic Honorable Leaderboard was released. The first place was still Dugu Aoyan. Second place was Li Yunfei, third place was Lin Xian, and fourth place was the original third place, Red Buddha. However, this person didn't participate in this monster-slaying gathering. Fifth place was Murong Qingqing, sixth place was Jiang Yan, seventh place was Qi Hao. The eighth was Lu Chang. In the final battle, Lin Xian had forced him to slay the demon realm, and he had missed the opportunity to enter the demon blood pool. As a result, his ranking dropped significantly. In the crowd, Lu Chang looked at the rankings on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. His face could not be any darker. He stared at Lin Xian's figure in the sky, his eyes full of murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to kill him. It was all because of that damned little thief that he was kicked out of the monster-slaying realm. Otherwise, he might have been able to make it into the top 3 after obtaining the good fortune of the monster blood pool. Now, he couldn't have any of that. Lin Xian, I will never let you off. I want you dead. Lu Chang's expression was ferocious. On the other side, Tang Er looked at the changes on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard and his face darkened. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Originally, he had defeated the veteran powerhouses in the monster-slaying realm and became a super powerhouse who ranked 9th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. However, he had now been pushed down to 14th place. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian anymore. In the final battle, Lin Xian's battle with Jin Yu was still deeply imprinted in his mind. That level of battle was far from what he could compare to. Therefore, not only did he not dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian, but he was also afraid that Lin Xian would cause trouble for him. In an instant, those who had clashed with Lin Xian became cautious, while the other disciples crazily requested to join the Dragon Sword Pavilion. As for these matters, Lin Xian left them to Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong and the others. He brought Murong Qingqing and bid farewell to everyone before returning to the freshman courtyard. When they arrived at the freshman courtyard, Lin Xian looked at Murong Qingqing and said, "Go back and have a good rest. You've been tired these few days." Murong Qingqing smoothed her hair and looked at Lin Xian. She said gently, "Don't work too hard." Then, she turned and entered the courtyard. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled slightly as he watched the pretty figure disappear, before he also entered his own courtyard. Next, he began to consolidate his cultivation. This time, he had advanced by a level. It could be said that his progress was very fast. He had to stabilize his level. Otherwise, if his foundation wasn't strong enough, his future martial path would be very dangerous. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since the monster-slaying conference. Everyone's excitement gradually died down and the Immortal Martial Academy returned to its peaceful state. However, in their free time, everyone would still talk about the monster-slaying conference. Especially the battle between the 3 challengers. Many disciples took delight in talking about it. Especially Lin Xian, he had almost become a legend in the Immortal Martial Academy. He was the goal of countless new disciples. However, the person in question, Lin Xian, rarely appeared in front of everyone. Because these days, he was in seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. Today, Lin Xian finally opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, like the stars in the sky. The aura on his body was abnormally strong. Streaks of dazzling sword chi surrounded his body, making him look like a sword god. In the next moment, he took a deep breath and all the phenomena disappeared into his body. His cultivation base had basically stabilized and even improved. It seemed like it was time to come out of seclusion. Lin Xian stood up. In this half a month of cultivation, his cultivation base had completely stabilized at the fourth heavenly layer. Compared to when he was in the monster slaying conference, his aura was much stronger. Because in this half a month, not only did he consolidate his cultivation base, he also used his free time to absorb the energy crystal left behind by King Danfeather in the mysterious dagger. This time, he didn't absorb it quickly. Instead, he took it slowly and steadily. Therefore, his cultivation base was also slowly and steadily increasing. Walking out of the courtyard, he sent a message to Wang Li and the others, and gathered some capable people of the Dragon Sword Pavilion to discuss something. This time, Lin Xian's target was Wind-Seeking City. To be more precise, it was the auction in Wind-Seeking City. Previously, he had destroyed the Wanxiang auction and eliminated the Huang and Lung families, causing the entire Wind-Seeking City to be leaderless. Moreover, he had carved the words, Immortal Martial Auction, on the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. This meant that he wanted to personally build an auction that belonged to him. He had left this matter to Wang Li and the others, but it had always been done in secret. He hadn't really started building an auction. But now, he had decided to build a real auction. This was because Wind-Seeking City was a very important city. He had also heard about how much profit the Wanxiang auction had made. Therefore, if he wanted to expand his influence, it was imperative for him to establish an auction house. In the courtyard, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and more than 20 elite members stood there, quietly waiting for Lin Xian. These people were all members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion, and they were all powerful elite members. Lin Xian looked at these people and nodded in satisfaction. Now that the Dragon Sword Pavilion had developed, it had more than 1,000 members. It was also a very powerful force in the Immortal Martial Academy. And the 20 people in front of him were all third heavenly layer venerables. They were powerful and could be said to be the elites of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. Chapter 994. Lin Xian looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "The reason I've gathered everyone here is to discuss the establishment of the auction. Wang Li, tell us about the progress of the past few days." "Okay." Hearing Lin Xian's words, Wang Li nodded and stood out. "We've been secretly observing the situation in Windy City. Ever since the Wanxiang auction and the Huang and Lung families were destroyed, Windy City has been in a leaderless state. Various powers are rising rapidly and fighting for control. However, because Brother Xian carved the words Immortal Martial Auction on the old site of the Wanxiang auction, no one dares to openly occupy that place. Of course, there's another reason, and that's young Master Ling Feng. The Wanxiang auction is a subordinate of young Master Ling Feng. This matter is no longer a secret, so no one dares to occupy the Wanxiang auction's territory. As for us, the biggest obstacle is young Master Ling Feng. After all, he's one of the top geniuses in the continent and has a huge influence. Although he hasn't made a move yet, we have to be careful. As for the other powers, there shouldn't be much of a problem." Hearing Wang Li's introduction, Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, young Master Ling Feng's existence was the biggest threat to him. This was also his biggest headache. Back then, he used the name Immortal Martial Auction to get the Immortal Martial Academy to back him up. However, this was only a method to scare him off. If he could really get the Immortal Martial Academy to back him up, he wouldn't be here discussing this matter. It seemed like if he wanted to establish the auction, he had to deal with this threat first. Lin Xian frowned. This meant that he had to find a strong backer to go against young Master Ling Feng. Otherwise, even if he established the auction, no one would dare to come. "How about this? You guys carry on with your original work. I'll try to communicate with the academy." Lin Xian thought for a moment and said slowly, "Communicate with the academy? Brother Xian, is this okay?" Wang Li frowned. There didn't seem to be such a precedent. "I'm not too confident either, but as long as there's a sliver of hope, I won't give up." Lin Xian shrugged and left the freshman area. Of course, if he borrowed Murong Qingqing's strength, he might be able to fight against young noble Ling Feng, but this would go against his original intention. Moreover, if that was really the case, she was afraid that she would also be labeled as a freeloader. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use the power behind Murong Qingqing. As for communicating with the Immortal Martial Academy, Lin Xian intended to give it a try. After all, the Immortal Martial Academy was an extremely profitable piece of meat. The Immortal Martial Academy wouldn't give up on such a lucrative opportunity. However, although it wasn't easy to find an elder in the Immortal Martial Academy, there was one place where one could definitely find one, and that was the True Spirit Hall. This kind of important place was definitely guarded by an elder. Soon, Lin Xian arrived at the True Spirit Hall. He took a deep breath and walked into the hall. "Speak, what do you want to exchange for?" An elder squinted his eyes and spoke indifferently. "Junior Lin Xian greets Senior." Lin Xian respectfully said. "Lin Xian?" Hearing this name, the elder opened his eyes. Then, a smile appeared on his face. "So it's you, little fellow. Speak, what do you want to exchange for?" Seeing the elder's smile, Lin Xian awkwardly scratched his head and probed, "Elder, this time disciple isn't here to exchange for something. I have something to discuss with the academy. I wonder if Elder can introduce me to the elder in charge of business." "Business? Why are you asking about that?" The elder had a puzzled look on his face as he frowned. "It's like this. 2 days ago, this disciple obtained an auction house and wanted to run it again. However, I wish to cooperate with the academy." Hearing this, the elder's expression became extremely strange. However, he seemed to have thought of something and didn't reject Lin Xian's request. Instead, he said indifferently, "All right, follow me." With that, he waved his sleeve and brought Lin Xian with him as they disappeared from the True Spirit Hall. Lin Xian felt the light dim and the wind blow around him. He was being brought by Elder Zhang at an extremely fast speed. Feeling this speed, Lin Xian was shocked. He originally thought that his illusory demon steps was already very fast, but compared to the elder, it paled in comparison. The speed was so fast that even he couldn't withstand it. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Xian was weak, but that the elder was too strong. He was definitely a peerless expert in the world. Not long after, the elder brought Lin Xian to another hall. Compared to the grandeur of the True Spirit Hall, this hall was golden and dazzling. There were exquisite and luxurious decorations everywhere, showing off the extraordinary wealth of this place. Elderly, why do you have the time to come here?" A middle-aged man laughed. Then, Lin Xian felt his vision blur and a figure appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man with a round face and wearing a golden silk robe. He was all smiles and seemed very amiable. "But you don't welcome me here?" The elder laughed and scolded. "Why would I? Your presence will definitely bring light to my 1,000 treasure hall. All right, I won't chat with you anymore. I'm here to bring someone to see you," the elder said. The middle-aged man heard. He looked at Lin Xian with a curious gaze. "This is?" He revealed a puzzled expression. "He's a disciple of the academy. His name is Lin Xian." "Lin Xian, this is Hall Master 1 of the 1,000 Treasure Hall," the elder said. In the Immortal Martial Academy, the most powerful person was the dean, followed by the 2 vice deans. Under the vice deans were the 5 halls. The 1,000 Treasure Hall was one of them. It was in charge of all the commercial resources of the Immortal Martial Academy. The position of the Hall Master was very high, second only to the vice deans. Of course, there were also a few mysterious powerhouses who were guarding the courtyard. They were different from the experts guarding the 5 halls like elderly. What was more terrifying was that they were responsible for the safety of the entire Immortal Martial Academy. Normally, they wouldn't intervene unless it was a matter of life and death. The middle-aged man in front was the Hall Master of the 1,000 Treasure Hall. Disciple Lin Xian greets Hall Master 1. "Lin Xian? You're the newly ranked 3rd on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard?" Hall Master 1 said with a smile. "Senior, you flatter me." Lin Xian scratched his head. He didn't expect these people to know him. "All right, if there's anything, you two can discuss it," I'm going back. With a wave of his sleeve, the guardian elder disappeared. Thank you, senior. Looking at the disappearing figure, Lin Xian bowed respectfully. Chapter 995. Palace Master, I've thought of something. I'm here to do business with the college. Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man and said quickly, Oh, business? Tell me about it. Palace Master Wan was interested. Well, I have a great location and I'd like to set up an auction house. However, I'm not powerful enough and I'd like to work with the college to set up the auction house. Auction house? Tell me about the auction house in Windy City. Palace Master One said. Lin Xian was stunned when he heard that. Then, he said quickly, Senior, it's indeed an auction house in Windy City. Young lad, you are pretty bold to destroy the Wanxiang auction. However, it's not a bad thing for us. We couldn't do it in the past due to certain reasons. Now that you've torn it down, we've solved a problem. We can consider it. After all, the profits from setting up an auction house in Windy City are unimaginable. Does that mean you've agreed to it? Lin Xian was delighted when he heard that. No hurry. I'll have to discuss it with the other elders in the college. How about this? You can go back first. If I have any news, I'll send someone to inform you. Palace Master One said slowly. Lin Xian left the 1,000 Treasure Palace happily. Judging from Palace Master One's tone, there was a high chance that he would agree to it. After Lin Xian left, Palace Master One did not stay idle. In a flash, he disappeared from the 1,000 Treasure Palace. He was really interested in this matter. Moreover, Lin Xian's identity was not ordinary. He had to report it to the dean. Soon he came to a quiet valley. There were bamboo forests everywhere. Birds and beasts flew away. It was peaceful and the spiritual qi here was very dense. It was much stronger than the outside world. In this beautiful valley, Hall Master One met Dean Xian. However, Dean Xian opened her eyes when she heard what Palace Master One said. Oh, you're saying that Lin Xian wants to set up an auction house? Yes. It should be the original Vientiane auction. However, I'm afraid that he's worried about Prince Ling Feng's influence. That's why he wants to get us involved. I didn't expect them to meet so soon. But this is also good. They are old enemies, so they will fight sooner or later. How about this? Go and tell him that we agree to his request and announce this news to the public. Yes. Receiving the order, Palace Master One quickly left the Peach Blossom Valley. After Hall Master One left, Chief Xian narrowed her eyes and muttered to herself. Although the two of you are mortal enemies, with your current strength, it's still not enough for you to face him head-on. All we can do is try our best to prolong the time. When you've truly grown up, then you can fight it out. It had been 2 days since Lin Xian returned to the freshman courtyard. He was anxiously waiting for a reply. On the 3rd day, a middle-aged deacon landed in his courtyard. Sensing that someone was approaching, Lin Xian's figure flickered and dashed out. Then he saw a middle-aged man standing in the courtyard. Lin Xian, right? I'm a deacon of the 10,000 Treasure Palace. The palace master sent me here. That middle-aged man said. Senior deacon, is there news? Hearing this, Lin Xian revealed a trace of anticipation. Indeed. Our palace master replied that he has agreed to this matter. The Immortal Martial Academy will cooperate with you, and the profits will be asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk 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 asterisk? I agree. 40% is enough for me. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, as long as he could get on the good side of the Immortal Martial Academy, no one would dare to cause trouble in the future. Even Prince Lingfeng would have to think twice. After all, the Immortal Martial Academy was also a terrifying peak power. Although Prince Lingfeng was strong, he didn't have the qualifications to go against the Immortal Martial Academy. Unless the other party brought out the strength of the War God Palace. But once the other party did that, it would become a battle between two superpowers. This was something that no one wanted to see. Therefore, Lin Xian was quite agreeable to the idea of splitting the profits. However, the middle-aged deacon shook his head. You're mistaken. There's something I have to clarify. Regarding the split, It's 60% for you and 40% for us. Pooh! What? Lin Xian almost choked on his own saliva. 60% for me? Are you sure you're not mistaken? He was stunned. One must know that 40% was already not bad, but he didn't expect the academy to give him 60%. Could it be that he was dreaming? Lin Xian pinched his thigh, feeling pain. You didn't hear wrongly. It's indeed 60% for you and 40% for us. The deacon repeated. Are there any special conditions? Lin Xian furrowed his brows. There must be something fishy about this. Although it was only 20%, the profit was so huge that it could scare people to death. For this cooperation, we will make our stance clear to the outside world. However, we won't send too many people to Windask City. Maybe only 1 or 2 elders will help you. Everything will depend on you. But don't worry. If someone really dares to find trouble, the Immortal Martial Academy will definitely not let them off. So it's like this. Hearing this, Lin Xian relaxed. In other words, the Immortal Martial Academy didn't intend to interfere with the management of the auction. They only wanted to spread the word and let Lin Xian take care of the rest. This was also good. It was more in line with Lin Xian's thoughts. If not, he wouldn't feel comfortable being tied down. Okay, then I'll have to thank the elders of the 10,000 Treasure Hall and the Academy. I will establish the Immortal Martial Auction as soon as possible. After which, Lin Xian sent off the middle-aged deacon and gathered Wang Li and the rest once again. When everyone heard that the Academy had agreed to give them 60% of the profits, they were all stunned. There were even some who bit their own tongues. Brother Xian, are you sure you're not joking with us? Boss, are you awake? To be honest, when I heard this news, I had the same reaction as all of you. But it's true. Lin Xian laughed. Too awesome. Hearing this, Wang Li and the rest all cheered. With the support of the Academy, they didn't have to be afraid of young Master Lin Xian anymore. Not only that, there wouldn't be many people who would dare to have any ideas about them. Okay, the next step is to prepare for the auction. During this period of time, everyone will have to work hard. Don't worry, Brother Xian. We're very happy. They were all too excited. In the past, they only went to the auction to buy things. Who would have thought that one day, they would be able to establish their own auction? Everyone was incomparably excited because the difference between going to the auction and establishing their own auction was huge. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong and the others received the order and moved quickly. Soon, other than the ordinary citizens, all the big and small forces in Wind-Seeking City received the order. They were extremely puzzled and did not know what Lin Xian wanted to do. However, no one dared to not go. After all, Lin Xian's influence was still there. They did not want to end up like the Wanxiang auction. In an instant, all the forces in Wind-Seeking City sent their representatives. Countless martial artists moved, causing the ground of the entire Wind-Seeking City to tremble slightly. Everyone looked at this scene in horror, their hearts filled with shock. Soon, the representatives of the forces arrived at the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. They looked at the palace condensed with spirit energy and were even more shocked. They had only seen such a method in legends. Moreover, the aura coming from the palace seemed to be even more powerful and terrifying than before. Without a doubt, this aura belonged to Lin Xian. What did this mean? This meant that he had improved in such a short period of time. This kind of cultivation speed was absolutely monstrous. In the past, they were already no match for Lin Xian. Now, there was no need to even think about it. Therefore, for a moment, everyone waited obediently. The whole place was eerily quiet. Suddenly, the sound of steady footsteps could be heard coming from the spiritual energy palace. Then, a young man appeared in front of everyone. It's really him. Looking at the figure, everyone exclaimed in their hearts. Is everyone here? Lin Xian looked around and asked in a deep voice. Other than the Purple Demon House, all the other forces are here. Wang Li said. Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently, what's the background of the Purple Demon House? The Purple Demon House was a relatively large force near Wind-Seeking City. It was established by the purple demon Old Ghost. Due to their decisive and ruthless style, very few people dared to provoke them. What's the purple demon Old Ghost's strength? He had entered the fourth sky of the honorable realm a long time ago. No one knew how strong he was now, but he was sure that he had not broken through the fifth sky of the honorable realm. This time, it was Yu Fei who answered. Because they needed a lot of information to establish an auction, Lin Xian summoned him back from Lion Tiger City. Hearing this information, Lin Xian did not say anything, but his eyes were gloomy. A fourth sky of the honorable realm, no wonder he was so arrogant. He was considered an expert in the outside world. However, Lin Xian was not afraid of him. He had also broken through to the fourth sky of the honorable realm. Moreover, he had De Long Jianli's powerful battle strength. There were very few people in the same realm who could be his opponent. Moreover, the establishment of the immortal martial auction was his first step into the blood realm. However, more than half of the incense stick had been burned, and the ground was covered in ashes. However, the people from the Purple Demon House had yet to arrive. Although the representatives of the various forces didn't say anything, they kept guessing in their hearts. In their opinion, the Purple Demon House would definitely ignore such an unreasonable request. And looking at Lin Xian's expression, it seemed like he wasn't just saying it for fun. If the two sides were to fight, it was very likely that they would be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. Thinking of this, these people couldn't help but become excited. Lin Xian sat on a dragon-shaped chair condensed from spiritual energy. His eyes were slightly narrowed as he comprehended the alchemy knowledge left behind by King Pillfeather. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others stood to the side. However, when they looked at the incense stick that was about to burn out, their faces became increasingly gloomy. This time, they had come with great ambitions. They were determined to establish the immortal martial auction. However, before it even started, there were already people who didn't give them face. If Lin Xian hadn't said to wait for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they would have already brought people to kill. What Purple Demon House? What Purple Demon Old Ghost? Although they seemed powerful to outsiders, they didn't care about them at all. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. Then, countless rays of light lit up, accompanied by waves of terrifying and ferocious spiritual energy fluctuations. Sensing this spiritual energy, everyone looked up at the sky. Then, the pupils of the representatives shrank as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe it. Purple Demon House? How is this possible? Yeah, why are they here? Countless cries of surprise rang out. This was different from what they had expected. Could Lin Xian really be this powerful? Even the Purple Demon House couldn't resist. Before they could react, the figures in the sky had already landed. A powerful spiritual energy aura spread out, spreading in all directions and stirring up clouds of dust. Ha! It's so lively here. As soon as these people landed, an extremely arrogant laughter spread out in all directions. This was a group of martial artists dressed in purple. The leader was a middle-aged man with a big beard. Beside him was a middle-aged man with a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks. On the right was a burly man who looked like an iron tower. Behind him were dozens of martial artists with powerful auras. When these people grouped together, they formed a very powerful force. Not only that, they formed a sharp contrast with the representatives of the other forces. Those forces only sent 1 or 2 representatives, unlike the Purple Demon House who brought countless experts. Obviously, this was a demonstration of strength. Chapter 998. Taking a deep breath, Wang Li took a step forward and said coldly, "Are the people below from the Purple Dress House?" "That's us." "Kid, what are you planning to do by gathering so many people?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks shouted coldly. "I've gathered all of you here to discuss the matter of rebuilding the auction house." "Auction house? Great. Our Purple Demon House also wants to build an auction house. Why don't we work together?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks laughed arrogantly. Hearing this, everyone's eyelids twitched and they raised their heads. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. It seemed like the purple demon house was really angry this time. The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks continued, "You also know that this auction house is of the utmost importance and is the symbol of wind-seeking city. You bunch of brats don't have much strength nor experience. It's impossible for you to build an auction house. Why don't you let us seniors teach you how to build and manage an auction house?" Hearing this, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others' faces darkened. The other party's arrogant attitude completely disregarded them. "What? Is there a need to think about it? It's your great fortune to be able to receive our guidance. How about this? We'll manage the auction house together and we'll give you 10% of the profits. What do you think?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks was getting more and more arrogant. Behind him, the purple demon house's cultivators were laughing loudly. Buzz. Suddenly, Lin Xian opened his eyes. His gaze was like a sword, sweeping in all directions. All the cultivators who were swept by this gaze shuddered and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. Especially the purple demon house's cultivators, they stopped laughing and revealed a terrified expression. It was as if their necks were being strangled and their faces were flushed red. The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks was even more frightened. Just now, when that gaze swept over him, all the hair on his body stood on end. It was as if an invisible sword had stabbed into his chest. He knew that it was just an illusion, but he still couldn't help but tremble slightly. The bearded middle-aged man's face was also gloomy. He didn't expect the other party to have such a method. It was indeed out of his expectations. Seeing Lin Xian open his eyes, Wang Li let out a sigh of relief and retreated to Lin Xian's side. "You want to cooperate with us to set up an auction?" Lin Xian asked calmly, his voice emotionless. At this moment, the middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks was trying his best to calm the fear in his heart as he braced himself and spoke. "Kid, it's your great fortune to be able to cooperate with our purple demon house." "Luck?" Lin Xian smiled disdainfully. "You can't even block my gaze. Do you think someone like you is worthy of cooperating with me?" His tone was light, but it was filled with disdain. Hearing this, the members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion beside Lin Xian shook their heads in disdain, their eyes filled with contempt. Countless members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion looked at the monkey-faced man with disdain. "Brat, you're courting death." Being looked down upon, the monkey-faced middle-aged man was furious. He took a step forward and punched out. "How dare you? How dare you attack?" Seeing that the other party dared to attack, Wang Li roared and was about to stop him. However, before he could do anything, cold air suddenly condensed in the air and froze the terrifying fist shadow. An azure ice cube fell from the sky and landed on the ground, emitting a monstrous chill. Within it was a resplendent fist shadow. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. His gaze swept across the crowd and finally landed on the people from the Purple Demon House. Feeling that gaze, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Their hearts were filled with regret. If they had guessed the current situation, they would not have dared to say such words even if they were beaten to death. But since they had already done it, they could only bear it with their heads. The bearded middle-aged man's face was gloomy as he gnashed his teeth. This time, he came to Wind-Seeking City under the orders of the House Lord. He had to take over Wind-Seeking City no matter what, but he did not expect such a situation to occur. However, under such circumstances, he had no choice but to lower his head. He had never imagined that Lin Xian would be so powerful that he could kill his companion in an instant. Damn it, the target's information is wrong. He cursed under his breath. Then, his body emitted light and he quickly attacked in front of him. Now, he didn't dare to stay any longer because his strength was on par with the dead man. If his companion couldn't block a punch, he wouldn't be able to either. Now, the most important thing was to leave this place. After killing a mysterious venerable with one punch, Lin Xian had consumed more than half of the spiritual energy in his body. He was too angry just now. He had almost been killed twice in a row. This made him extremely angry, so he didn't hesitate and took out the Red Lotus armor gloves. He knew the power of that punch, but when he saw that the fourth-rank venerable had been turned into a bloody mist, he was extremely shocked. However, the only drawback was that it consumed too much energy. With his current strength, he could only use it 2 or 3 times. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't use the Red Lotus gloves against the remaining mysterious assassin. After all, the situation wasn't clear. He didn't know how many enemies there were, so he had to conserve his strength. However, he didn't regret that punch because he wanted to use his strength to intimidate everyone and tell them that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. He put away the Red Lotus gloves, drew the Lone Star sword, and stabbed out. The blood-red sword chi surged like an angry dragon. It roared ferociously and charged forward. Although this sword wasn't as powerful as the Red Lotus gloves, it was still extremely sharp. When the man in black saw this, his scalp went numb. Lin Xian's battle strength coupled with the power of a half-Earth rank artifact was not something that he could contend against. This person was also decisive. When he saw that he couldn't escape, he simply cut off his left arm and used a secret technique to form a substitute in front of him. The long sword fell, bringing with it a bloody mist. A scream was heard. Then, an afterimage quickly fled into the sky. "Kid, don't chase. That's the death substitution technique." Seeing that Lin Xian was about to attack, the dark red dragon reminded him. The death substitution technique was very special. It could use a part of the body to substitute for death. Therefore, with that person's condition, he could still use it several times. There was no way to kill him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a cold light bloomed in his eyes. At the same time, a purple figure flashed nearby and quickly fled into the distance. Seeing that purple figure, Lin Xian's face darkened again. The wind and thunder wings appeared on his back, shining with mysterious runes. He flapped his wings and turned into a bolt of lightning, instantly rushing forward. When the purple figure saw Lin Xian chasing after him, his scalp went numb and he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Chapter 1003. Brother Xian, these two organizations are too mysterious. I couldn't find out much in such a short time. Yu Fei said guiltily. However, one thing is for sure. This assassination has nothing to do with the Purple Demon House. They knew that the enemy was hiding in the dark, but they couldn't find them. This feeling was very unpleasant. It's nothing. After all, you guys just set up the intelligence network. It's normal that you can't find out anything about these kinds of assassin organizations. Lin Xian shook his head slightly, but didn't blame Yu Fei. Indeed, assassin organizations were usually very secretive. Their clients were also very careful. It was hard for outsiders to find out. How about this, you develop your own intelligence network first. If you need anything, tell Wang Li and the others. As for the assassins, let's put it aside first. You must establish a strong intelligence network in the shortest time possible. Brother Xian, I understand. Yu Fei nodded quickly. After Yu Fei left, Lin Xian's eyes turned gloomy again. Although Yu Fei didn't find much information about the assassins, Lin Xian didn't plan to let them go. Thinking about it, these people had failed once, and even lost 2 of their best men. They definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. He just had to wait for the next assassination to catch one of the assassins alive and ask. Just as Lin Xian was busy setting up the immortal martial auction in Wind-Seeking City, he suddenly received a piece of news. This news was sent to him by Murong Qingqing. The situation was like this. An elder in Murong Qingqing's family was a big shot in the blood realm. This time, the elder was celebrating his 800th birthday and invited many people. Murong Qingqing, as the little princess of the family and also in the blood realm, naturally had to go. The Immortal Martial Academy also received this news, but they were prepared to send Lin Xian. Firstly, Lin Xian's relationship with Murong Qingqing wasn't shallow. Moreover, he was also a young genius. It was suitable for him to participate in this kind of event. Furthermore, Lin Xian had a cooperative relationship with the academy. This time, having Lin Xian go and send an invitation to the auction, he might be able to bring some important figures to the auction in the future. In addition, Lin Xian had a special status in the eyes of Dean Xian and the others, so this task was given to Lin Xian. Looking at the sound transmission jade talisman and the invitation in his hand, Lin Xian helplessly smiled bitterly. He couldn't figure out why he had to attend the birthday banquet of a powerhouse for no reason. However, the academy had already sent him an invitation, and it was an elder of the Murong family. Lin Xian could not refuse. Therefore, he left the construction of the auction house to Wang Li and Dongfang Xiong. At the same time, he also left the dark red dragon to inscribe the array. As for him, he was preparing to leave and participate in the birthday banquet. However, what made him depressed was that Murong Qingqing had already left, so he would have to go by himself on the way. When the dark red dragon heard this news, it was unhappy and wanted to go as well. "Fuck, goddamned brat. You didn't bring me along when there's such a good thing. You're too despicable." The dark red dragon roared. "Aren't you staying to build the array? What are you going to do?" "Build my ass, I haven't even gathered all the materials. What's the point of me staying here?" The dark red dragon was unhappy. "Don't worry, when the materials are gathered, I'll make it quickly. 3 arrays, not 1 less." The dark red dragon said as it patted its chest. "All right, I'll bring you along then." Lin Xian sighed. "Let's go." Lin Xian said. "Why should we go? That place is so far away." The dark red dragon showed a look of disdain. "Brat, you're underestimating me. It's just a birthday banquet." Chapter 1004. With a flip of his palm, Lin Xian took out a set of medicinal ingredients and began to concoct. However, after half a day, he sighed. The precious medicinal ingredients in front of him had already turned into ashes, scattering all over the ground. As expected of a 7th-grade pill, it was indeed difficult to concoct. Lin Xian frowned. With his current strength, concocting a 6th-grade pill wasn't a problem. However, concocting a 7th-grade pill was still somewhat difficult. If only he had the 1,000-beast cauldron. Lin Xian sighed. What he lacked the most right now was a top-notch furnace. However, he only dared to think about the 1,000-beast cauldron and didn't dare to take it out. The terrifying aura it emitted wasn't something he could control. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian focused and prepared for his second attempt. During his first attempt, he made a small mistake, but since he had already discovered it, his strength should increase by quite a bit this time. However, just as he was about to concoct, a voice suddenly rang out in his ears. "Want to concoct a 7th-grade pill? I can help you." Hearing this voice, Lin Xian's hair stood on end. He quickly stood up and scanned the surroundings. At the same time, his soul force rapidly probed the surroundings. Just now, he had carefully scanned the surroundings and didn't discover anyone. Moreover, this was the 8th level of the Blazing Mountain. Very few people could come here. Other than a few elders of the Immortal Martial Academy, only Dugu Outyin and Li Yunfei could come here. However, the voice just now clearly didn't come from the two of them. Not only that, Lin Xian's face quickly darkened because he didn't sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his heart was on high alert because he didn't sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. This was what worried him the most. One must know that his soul force was extremely powerful. However, even he couldn't sense the other party. One could only imagine how good the other party's concealment skills were. Or it could be said that this was a supreme expert who transmitted his voice to him from extremely far away. No matter which it was, the result wasn't good news for him. "Who are you? Why are you acting so sneakily?" Lin Xian was on high alert. He scanned the surroundings and said coldly, "There's no need to look for me. You won't be able to find me." The voice was a little low. Hearing this, Lin Xian's frown deepened. The other party seemed to know his every move, but it seemed that he still didn't know the other party's intentions. Who are you? Why are you trying to act mysterious? If you want to talk about alchemy, you can come out for a chat. After searching for so long, could it be that you still haven't found where I am? This voice was intermittent and very low, as if it was very unstable. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his brows were furrowed. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he thought of a possibility. In the next moment, his soul power entered the mysterious small sword, wanting to find out more about it. Not bad, you finally know where I am. When the voice came out, Lin Xian was completely stunned. His eyes were filled with shock as if he had seen something inconceivable. This was because he discovered that the source of the sound was the 10,000 beast cauldron within his body. The 10,000 beast cauldron spoke. How was this possible? Lin Xian's eyes widened, and he almost bit off his tongue. Fortunately, he was skilled and daring. Otherwise, he might have been scared to the ground by now. Soon, he thought of a possibility. The dark red divine dragon had said before that heaven-defying items like a complete earth-rank artifact would usually nurture an artifact spirit. Therefore, this voice could be made by the artifact spirit of the 10,000 beast cauldron. To be precise, it's to help King Pillfeather. The artifact spirit said, I've been with King Pillfeather for a long time, and I know what happened to him. If you can fulfill his wish, I can help you control the 10,000 beast cauldron. Help King Pillfeather. Hearing this, Lin Xian said, No problem. What do you want me to help you with? Not only did Senior King Pillfeather pass down his cultivation to me, but he also left behind an alchemy inheritance. To me, he's like a master. This pill was effective for all martial artists in the supremacy realm. Even high-level supremacies could use it, and the effect was even better. Although this pill couldn't directly increase one's cultivation and spiritual power, it could help a martial artist to quickly calm their qi and enter a very strange state. This state was the dream of all martial artists because in that state, they could clearly sense all kinds of concepts and perfect their martial souls. Therefore, although it was just a small pill, it was extremely rare and precious. Refine another one. Lin Xian was excited. Since he still had one set of materials left, he might as well strike while the iron was hot and refine them together. He did it as soon as he thought of it. Lin Xian closed his eyes again and entered the state of refining pills. Not long after, a second pill with a light purple glow appeared in his hand. Looking at the two pills, Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. He kept one of the pills as a gift for attending the birthday banquet, and he took the other one for himself. After swallowing the light purple spirit pill, Lin Xian felt his whole body turn cold. Then, he found that his mind was abnormally sharp, as if he had entered a very strange state. In this strange state, Lin Xian felt that his perception of the various concepts and the two martial souls became clearer, and there seemed to be an indescribable understanding. This time didn't last for long, only an incense stick's worth of time, but Lin Xian knew that he had gained a lot during this time. Among them, the Ice Martial Soul and the Great Dragon Sword Soul had become more solid, and their power had increased by a lot. As for the other concepts of wind, lightning, and fire, they had far surpassed before, and there was even a trend of breaking through to become martial souls. This made Lin Xian very excited. One had to know that he already had two martial souls, and their power was countless times stronger than martial artists of the same level. If he could condense a third or fourth martial soul, his strength would be unimaginable. Of course, he hadn't heard of anyone with a third or fourth martial soul. In the Tianwu continent, having two martial souls seemed to be the limit. Lin Xian opened his eyes and stared at the floating 1,000-beast cauldron in front of him. He asked, what should I call you? I can't call you an artifact spirit, right? I'm an artifact spirit, and I don't have a name. Why don't you call me Zero? Zero. Okay, I'll call you Zero from now on. Zero, I have a question for you. You said that you came from a world outside the Tianwu continent. Then do you know if martial artists can have a third or fourth martial soul? Yes, but it's exclusive to geniuses. Zero coldly replied. Hearing this answer, Lin Xian was excited. Sure enough, his guess was correct. Chapter 1007. This is Crimson Crescent City? Lin Xian looked around and rolled his eyes. You better give me an explanation. Well, the dragon said awkwardly, I haven't fought for a long time, and my strength has been greatly reduced recently. Maybe there was a small mistake when I was setting it up. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. A small mistake? He glared at the dragon. He did not expect this guy to be so unreliable. He even made a mistake in setting up a teleportation formation. One had to know that this was teleportation. The slightest mistake could cause a huge difference in the outcome. Lin Xian could only pray that the dragon did not make too many mistakes. Otherwise, they might not even be in the blood realm anymore. Lin Xian looked around with a gloomy face. Damn that dragon. I don't know what mistake it made to be teleported to such an obscure place. Looking around, it was obvious that this was not a good place. Impossible. I only made a small mistake. It's impossible for me to be teleported so far away, the dragon said. Kid, don't worry. This place is definitely very close to Crimson Crescent City. I hope so. Lin Xian sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only walk outside to see what this place was. Lin Xian looked up and found that it was a little dark. It was not the sky. He guessed that they were most likely in a building or a cave. However, the more he walked, the more confused he became. This was because he saw rows of black mountains in front of him. They were extremely dark, like demonic mountains in hell. There were dark trees growing on the mountains, and they emitted a strange aura. There were also some dilapidated palaces around. They were covered in spider webs, and it was obvious that they were very old. Looking at the eerie scene around him, the dragon felt a chill run down its spine. The two of them did not say anything and quickly ran forward. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the nearest mountain. Standing at the foot of the mountain, the eerie aura was even more terrifying. Fortunately, Lin Xian was strong. He channeled the spiritual energy in his body and formed a barrier to block the terrifying aura around him. The dragon had thick skin and was naturally not afraid of the aura. The two of them stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up. This black mountain peak wasn't very tall. It was slightly shorter than a normal mountain peak. There were a few palaces on it, but they were all in ruins. I think we've arrived at an ancient place. This should be the ancient underground world. Underground world. Lin Xian frowned. Yes, it seems so, said the dark red divine dragon. Shall we go up and take a look? All right. Lin Xian was curious, so he also wanted to go up and take a look. After the two of them finished their discussion, they walked along the path towards the Black Mountain Peak. However, not long after they ascended the mountain peak, the two of them were unable to continue. The reason for that was because piles of bones would appear on the winding mountain path from time to time. These were all human bones, and many of them were emitting a faint light. One could imagine how powerful these people were when they were alive. However, even so, those people had become a pile of bones. Lin Xian's hair stood on end, and he didn't dare to go any further. The dark red divine dragon was also bewildered. However, it soon became excited because it smelled a faint medicinal fragrance on the mountain peak. Oi Lin, let little white out quick. The dark red divine dragon couldn't wait. However, before Lin Xian could react, the little white monkey flew out of the demonic beast pouch. It also looked at the mountain peak and chirped nonstop. However, to Lin Xian's relief, the little white monkey didn't act rashly this time, as if it was afraid of something. It only scratched its ears and cheeks, but it didn't fly out. Kid, if you don't want to die, hurry up and go down the mountain. Hearing this warning, Lin Xian's heart trembled, and at the same time he shouted, "Retreat!" Then his body swayed, and he retreated like a bolt of lightning. Seeing this, the dark red divine dragon had no choice but to quickly leave. However, when they reached the bottom of the mountain, the dark red divine dragon began to complain. Little Xian, you're too cowardly. We're already halfway, why did you have to come down? If we hang on a little longer, we might be able to pick a supreme-grade spirit herb. I'm afraid if we stay any longer, we'll lose our lives, Lin Xian said snappily. Chapter 1008. I'm afraid that if we stay any longer, we'll be dead, Lin Xian said in a huff. If you don't believe me, feel your body. After saying that, Lin Xian ignored it and focused on running the longevity chant, allowing the spiritual power to circulate fully in his body. The dark red dragon was puzzled and quickly checked its body. Then its face turned pale. I'm poisoned. When did this happen? It was shocked because it did not know when it was poisoned. Moreover, the poison had already accumulated in its body. Just as Lin Xian said, if they stayed on the mountain for any longer, the poison in their bodies would completely erupt. If they could not suppress the poison, they would be in danger. The dark red dragon did not dare to be careless. It quickly activated a secret technique to expel the poison from its body. The little white monkey was also hugging the small worn-out bowl and mumbling non-stop. On the surface of its body, a layer of pure white light bloomed. After a while, Lin Xian opened his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. The poison in his body had been completely removed. However, the scene just now made him extremely vigilant. If it was not for Zero's secret warning, they would have been in real danger. Damn it, this place is too creepy. The dark red dragon opened its eyes and mumbled. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon managed to purge the poison from their bodies, narrowly avoiding the calamity. Damn it, this place is too creepy, the dark red dragon mumbled. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together as he looked forward once again. I think that the corpses on the mountain path are all the warriors who were poisoned. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. There must have been people like them who wanted to go up the mountain to pick supreme-grade spiritual herbs. However, these people were all infected by the poison and could not be cured. In the end, they died on the mountain. There were probably not many lucky people like them. However, the little white monkey did not give up. It hugged the small worn-out bowl in its hands and started mumbling. Then the small bowl emitted a mysterious power that surged toward the Black Mountain. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon held their breaths and waited patiently because they knew the power of the treasure basin. Perhaps it would be of use here and they would be able to obtain 1 or 2 supreme-grade spirit herbs. The little white monkey kept waving its little paws and hitting the small bowl. Not long after, the small bowl trembled slightly and a supreme-grade spirit fruit appeared in the bowl. It was a spiritual herb that was 10 feet tall. Its leaves were emerald green, and it exuded an endless amount of vitality. On its branches, there were 4 spiritual fruits that were sparkling and translucent, with a thick fragrance. I really got it. Lin Xian's eyes widened, while the dark red dragon god opened its mouth so wide that it reached its ears, drooling nonstop. We're really rich this time. Kid, hurry up and get a few more. This kind of thing was definitely rare. If he didn't get it now, it would be a huge loss. The dark red dragon god urged from the side, and the snow-white little fox was also excitedly scratching its ears and cheeks. It waved its little paws and decided to show off its skills. However, on the Black Mountain peak in front of them, in the dilapidated palace, suddenly, there was a low sound. It was like the morning bell and evening drum. It kept ringing. The sound carried a terrifying demonic nature, causing one's heart to beat uncontrollably. Lin Xian's expression changed drastically because he felt the blood in his body boiling, and his heart felt like it was about to explode. Fortunately, his body had been strengthened by so many natural treasures, and his physique was extremely tough. At that moment, he was able to withstand the demonic sound. Chapter 1009. Fuck, you scared me to death. The dark red dragon also had a look of lingering fear. You still dare to say that? Lin Xian rolled his eyes. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have come to such a dangerous place. But I didn't expect there to be such a terrifying place in the Blood Realm. The dark red dragon said, It looks like an ancient ruin, but I don't know why it's buried underground. Looks like this blood realm is not simple. There should be some ancient secrets buried here. Forget it, who cares? If that zombie really comes out, the kings here will deal with it, so we don't have to worry about it. The dark red dragon shook his head, then stared at the supreme grade spirit fruit in the little white monkey's hand and said with a flattering smile, "Little one, give me one." The little white monkey had a proud look on its face. First, it plucked a spirit fruit and gave it to Lin Xian. Then, it reluctantly gave one to the dark red divine dragon. The other two were quickly swallowed by the dragon. After eating the two supreme grade spirit fruits, the little white monkey squinted its crescent-shaped eyes and looked intoxicated. The dark red dragon chuckled and also swallowed the supreme grade spirit fruit in his hand. He would not keep such a good thing. Lin Xian looked at the two gluttons. He shook his head helplessly. He flipped his palm. He put the supreme grade spirit fruit into his storage ring. As an alchemist, he would not waste a supreme grade spirit fruit like this. At the very least, he would make it into spirit wine or spirit pills. Moreover, with Zero's help, Lin Xian could now control the Thousand Beast Cauldron. Therefore, refining 7th grade pills was not a problem for him. What he lacked the most now were supreme grade spirit herbs. After putting away the supreme grade spirit fruit, Lin Xian looked into the distance again. He would remember this place. He decided that when he became stronger in the future, he would come here again and pluck all the supreme grade spirit fruits. Then, the two of them flew into the sky and flew into the distance. Not long after, they saw a city. It seemed that although this ruffian dragon was unreliable, he still managed to teleport near Crimson Crescent City. After entering the city, Lin Xian found it to be very lively. There were many young talents and some very dignified big shots. These people were all walking in the same direction with a trace of excitement on their faces. "Hey, have you heard? I heard that the Murong clan's goddess is also coming to this birthday banquet." "Of course, I've heard about it. I must show off my skills at this birthday banquet. If I can get Murong Qingqing's favor, I can directly enter the Murong clan." "You're dreaming, you? Beat me first." They were all very excited. Lin Xian was a little speechless. Were these people here to attend the birthday banquet or to look at the beauties? This Crimson Crescent City was different from other cities because the entire city was a huge mansion. There were pavilions, terraces, and waterfalls everywhere. All kinds of strange beasts were walking on the ground. Lin Xian was flabbergasted as he watched. He exclaimed in his heart, as expected of the Murong clan, an elder could actually own a city and use it as his own residence. This was simply too imposing and too shocking. As they walked further into the city, the scenery changed again. Rows of palaces and pavilions stood on the ground like shining stars. It was very magnificent. Many red-crowned cranes were wandering around. It was like a paradise on earth. That was just the periphery. The real core was in front of them. There were 2 rows of young disciples in front of them. They were greeting guests. Those disciples were all very handsome. They were wearing white robes with the Murong clan's emblem on their chests. Although they were greeting guests with smiles on their faces, their eyes were filled with arrogance. "You can't bring your pet inside." Suddenly, one of the Murong clan's disciples stopped Lin Xian and said, "You can forget about the monkey, but you can't bring the snake inside." "You bastard, what kind of look is that? You're the snake. Your whole family are snakes." Before Lin Xian could say anything, the Crimson Dragon roared angrily. It was a member of the Divine Dragon clan. It hated being called a snake the most. However, it looked very much like a snake right now. Hearing this, the surrounding crowd was shocked. They all looked over. The Murong clan's disciple was also shocked. "This snake can talk? Brat, if you dare to talk about me again, I'll beat you into a pig's head." The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth. It had recovered part of its strength, so it was not afraid. These people would not be able to catch it anyway. Being threatened by a snake, the Murong clan's disciple's face darkened. He then glared fiercely at Lin Xian and said, "Your snake has violent tendencies. All the more reason not to let it in." Although a talking snake was very mysterious, as a disciple of the Murong clan, they had seen all kinds of strange things. Forget about a snake, they had even seen a talking skeleton. Therefore, after the initial shock, these people had calmed down. Hearing this, Lin Xian's face darkened. This was because he had seen a group of people riding on strange beasts being respectfully welcomed by humans. Those were all demon generals. They were extremely powerful. If they were to talk about danger, those demon generals would be more dangerous. However, the Murong clan's disciples did not stop them. Instead, they stopped Lin Xian. It was obvious that those people were not ordinary cultivators. Although Lin Xian had an extraordinary appearance, he was dressed plainly. Moreover, he was coming here alone. At first glance, they could tell that he was not a disciple of a large force. Therefore, the Murong clan's disciples did not treat him well. "Brat, which clan are you from? Do you have an invitation? Where's your elder? Call him over." Another woman stepped forward. Her words were even harsher. "I don't think you have the right to meet my elder," Lin Xian said coldly with his hands behind his back. He could tell that these people were obviously looking for trouble and wanted to bully him. Although he did not know the reason, he could guess that although these people were disciples of the Murong clan, their real status was not high. Otherwise, they would not have been assigned to be doormen. Therefore, although they appeared to be of noble status to outsiders, their real status was relatively lowly. Therefore, these people's mentality was slightly twisted. In addition, they still had to greet those big shots with a smile, so their mentality was even more twisted. He already looked down on someone like Lu Chang. "I'm warning you. Don't be careless." Although Lu Chang is nothing, his family is not to be underestimated. Ling thought about it and still reminded. "Oh, what's so special about him?" Lin Xian asked. He really did not know about this. "He's young Master Ling Feng's man." Linger said. "Moreover, he's not an ordinary person." He had heard of Lin Xian's name a long time ago. A brat with no background and only some talent dared to get close to Murong Qingqing. He really didn't know how to write the word death. Today, he wanted to see what kind of ability Lin Xian had. Shen Yulong's appearance shocked the surrounding warriors. The Shen family disciples were even more excited. They didn't expect this young man in front of them to be someone personally invited by Murong Qingqing. This was too shocking. One must know that even Shen Yulong and Lu Lai didn't have such face. Also, from Lu Lai's words, this young man seemed to be a disciple of the Immortal Martial Academy. But when did the Immortal Martial Academy produce such a disciple? However, they believed that from today onwards, Lin Xian's name would enter the eyes of these people. "I also want to see what exactly is it that can make you so arrogant?" Lin Xian took a step forward as a sharp aura gushed forth from his body. Facing the domineering Lu Chang, he still had no fear and was prepared to fight at any moment. Feeling the aura exuding from Lin Xian, the surrounding cultivators all drew in a breath of cold air because that aura was too terrifying. It was like a peerless divine sword being unsheathed, causing everyone to feel fear in their hearts. What a sharp sword chi! As expected of someone invited by Miss Murong, he's indeed very powerful. Those present weren't weaklings. Although there was only a strand of aura, they could still sense the terrifying energy contained within Lin Xian's body. Everyone was extremely agitated. These two could be considered peak experts of the younger generation. If they really fought, it would definitely be an exciting battle. "Oh, someone wants to fight? Let me take a look." At this moment, a laughter rang out. Next, a young man clad in luxurious robes walked over from afar. He had a smile on his face as he laughed heartily. Upon seeing that person, Ling heaved a sigh of relief. Originally, she was worried that Lin Xian and Lu Lai would be at a disadvantage if they fought. Now, it seemed that everything would be fine. "Young Master Qing Shu, you've also come," Linger said. The surrounding cultivators were all moved. They didn't expect Murong Qingshu to come here. This birthday banquet was organized by a very high-status elder of the Murong family. Murong Qingshu was the direct descendant of this elder. In other words, Murong Qingshu was the young master of Crimson Lunar City. Therefore, his identity was also extraordinary. After knowing the identity of the other party, Lin Xian withdrew the sword qi from his body and no longer attacked. On the side, the dark red divine dragon coldly said to Lu Lai, "Brat, consider yourself lucky. Otherwise, you would have already been struck to death. It's really angry. These people are too despicable. They all deserve to die." Oomph! Lu Lai coldly snorted as a terrifying light shot out from his eyes. Murong Qingshu strode over with a smile on his face and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, today is my ancestor's birthday banquet. Please give me some face and fight another day. At that time, I can invite all of my good friends to witness the two of you. Since Brother Qingshu has spoken, then I'll fight another day." Lu Lai turned around and smiled at Murong Qingshu. Then, he turned his head and looked at Lin Xian once again. He coldly said, "Consider yourself lucky. I'll let you live for a few more days. Enjoy your last moments." Lu Lai looked down from above like a death god as he announced the date of Lin Xian's death. "Surnamed Lu, if you dare to speak to me like that again, do you believe that I won't strike you with my sword? I don't care what your identity is." Lin Xian was also angry. The other party was so aggressive and had provoked him time and time again. Even a person made of clay would have some anger, let alone him. Chapter 10:13. The sword qi was very close to Lu Lai, as if it would slash down at any moment. "You dare to attack me?" Lu Lai was enraged. He did not expect the other party to attack him. In the next moment, he glared at Lin Fan as well. The aura on his body was like a flood, rumbling loudly. A huge amount of energy gathered and rushed forward, as if it was going to tear Lin Xian apart. Bang! Lin Xian sneered. The sword qi on his body shone even more brightly. It was like a rainbow as it slashed forward. He had directly used the power of the great dragon sword soul for this attack. It was extremely powerful. He did this to intimidate the crowd and let them know that he, Lin Xian, was not someone who could be provoked. The sword qi was like a rainbow, quickly slicing through Lu Lai's aura and slashing down. Lu Lai was shocked. He did not expect Lin Xian's sword qi to be so sharp that it could slice through his aura. With a low roar, he waved his palm and slapped upwards. Boom! In the next moment, the two collided, letting out a low rumbling sound as if metal and stone had collided. Under the crowd's shocked gaze, Lu Lai took 3 steps back. His palm was scarlet red and fresh blood flowed down his fingertips, dripping onto the ground. It was extremely eye-catching. What? Lu Lai is injured? How is that possible? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect Lu Lai to be the one who was injured in the clash. This was too unbelievable. Lu Lai was a genius disciple of the Lu family, and the Lu family was one of the 8 great families under Prince Ling Feng. They were extremely powerful. Although they could not be compared to the king families, they were not people who could be provoked by ordinary people. Moreover, Lu Lai was very powerful. He was not inferior to Shen Yulong. However, such a powerful person was injured. Moreover, he was injured by a single slash. Everyone looked at Lin Xian, their hearts trembling. Shen Yulong, Murong Qingshu, and the rest frowned. They did not expect Lu Lai to be injured. Lu Lai was both shocked and furious. He did not put Lin Xian in his eyes at first. He thought that Lin Xian was just an ant that he could casually squash to death. However, things went beyond his expectations. His opponent's sword qi was too sharp, and it actually injured him. Although it was only a cut on his palm, it still made him very angry because no one had ever been able to hurt him so easily. Lin Xian was also speechless. To be honest, his opponent's strength was above his expectations. Originally, he thought that even if he couldn't kill his opponent, he would at least be able to sever his opponent's hand. But now, his opponent only had a small cut and didn't suffer any substantial damage. No wonder the other party was so arrogant before. It seemed that he had the strength to back up his arrogance. Lu Lai's spirit force surged into his palm. The next moment, the blood stopped flowing and the sword wound quickly formed a scar. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Lin Xian like a beast. "Brat, how dare you hurt me? I'll kill you!" Lu Jiang roared angrily, and the spiritual energy in his body suddenly erupted, wrapping him up like a ball of fire. The sword mark on his palm quickly disappeared, and his entire palm returned to normal. "This aura is so strong." The surrounding people cried out in surprise and kept retreating. They had no choice. Lu Lai's current aura was too strong. It was definitely the pressure of a fourth heaven venerable, and it wasn't an ordinary one. The spiritual energy on the surface of Lu Lai's body pulsed like divine flames. His eyes were cold as he stared at Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian snorted coldly and pointed his finger forward like a sword. "That sword strike just now was a warning to you. If you continue to cause trouble, it won't be as simple as a cut on your palm next time. If you don't believe me, you can try." Lin Xian's voice was like a sharp sword that shook the surroundings. Hearing that, the surrounding warriors were all stunned as if they had seen a ghost. Who was Lu Lai? He was a genius warrior of the Lu family. Even a core disciple of a king family like Xin Yulong addressed him as brother. One could imagine how powerful Lu Lai was. And now, he was being scolded by a young man in public. This was a slap to his face. "You're courting death." Lu Lai roared angrily and threw out a punch. This punch was filled with spiritual energy and shone brightly. It was like a demonic mountain that charged forward rapidly. At this moment, Lu Lai attacked with all his might. He couldn't wait to punch Lin Xian into a bloody mist. Lin Xian sneered and was not afraid. He waved his arm and landed quickly. An icy blue aura bloomed from his fingertip and turned into an icy sword aura that slashed forward quickly. Accompanying it was a monstrous and terrifying icy aura. Boom! A deep sound was heard as boundless icy aura spread out as if it was going to freeze the entire world. This sword strike was too sharp. It contained the power of the great dragon sword soul and was extremely powerful. It forced Lu Lai back again. This time, Lu Lai's fist cracked again, and a terrifying crack appeared on it. Blood spurted out again, but this time, it was frozen into ice by the icy aura before it could fall to the ground. "This is what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke!" Lin Xian sneered. "Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you are a disciple of the Lu family. Let me tell you, you are nothing in front of me." Lin Xian stood proudly with his black hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, he was like a sword god looking down on his opponent. Previously, Lu Lai had looked down on him with an arrogant attitude. Now, he was going to return the favor with a similar attitude. He wanted to let Lu Lai have a taste of being looked down on and looked down on. When the crowd saw this, their eyelids twitched and they were shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. His attack was too terrifying. Even Lu Lai was no match for him. There was no suspense in the fight unless Lu Lai used his martial soul and used all his strength. But no matter what the final result was, Lin Xian's name was etched in everyone's heart. This was definitely a person more terrifying than Lu Lai. Lu Lai was so angry that his body trembled. His face was ferocious as he roared to the sky, "Kid, after the birthday banquet, you and I will fight to the death. I will kill you with my own hands." He was too angry and too aggrieved. If they were not in Crimson Crescent City today and did not have to care about the Murong family's reputation, he would have used all his strength to kill Lin Xian. He would not be as aggrieved as he was now. However, he also decided that after the birthday banquet, he would kill Lin Xian in an extremely brutal way. "You still dare to be stubborn? Looks like I didn't teach you a lesson." Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his arm again and a stunning sword chi was released. It tore through the starry sky and slashed forward. Wasn't Lin Xian arrogant and insolent? Wasn't he looking down on everyone? Now, he was going to be even more insolent and arrogant than Lin Xian. He wanted to defeat Lu Lai completely. Lu Lai's face was ferocious and his body trembled with anger. As a genius disciple of the Lu family, he was respected by everyone. Even the core disciples of the King family would call him a friend. But now, he was being bullied by a kid. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.